السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. صباح الخير وأهلا وسهلا بكم جميعا في فعالية جمعية الصداقة العمانية الفرنسية OFA Premium Event Oman Tourism Gearing Up for the Future. معكم أرشد الوهيبي. سأتشرف بتقديم هذا الحفل لحضراتكم لكم مني وبالنيابة عن جميع زملائي من فريق عمل جمعية الصداقة العمانية الفرنسية خالص الشكر والتقدير لتشريفكم لنا بحضوركم لهذا الحفل. A very good morning and welcome to the OFA Premium Event Oman Tourism Gearing Up for the Future. I am Arshad, your host for the morning, and on behalf of the rest of the team at OFA, I would like to thank you all for coming. Je vous souhaite la bienvenue et une très riche journée pour cet événement premium de OFA relatif au tourisme et à son évaluation plan d'avenir. إنه من دواعي الشرف لنا أن نستقبل راعية الحفل سعادة ميثاء بنت سيف المحروقية وكيلة وزارة السياحة، ونتقدم لها بخالص الشكر والتقدير على قبولها لدعوتنا رعاية هذا الحفل، فشكرا جزيلا لسعادتكم. It's an honor to have a distinguished guest with us, Her Excellency Meitha Saif Al-Mahrouqi, Under Secretary of the Ministry of Tourism. Thank you, Your Excellency, for taking the time to join us today. C'est un honneur d'accueillir parmi nous un hôte de marque tel que son Excellence Meitha Saif Al-Mahrouqi, secrétaire d'État du ministère du Tourisme. Merci pour votre présence et pour avoir pris le temps de vous joindre à nous pour cette journée. يسرنا أن نستهل هذا الحفل بكلمة الفاضل سليمان الحارثي، نائب رئيس تنفيذي ميثاق للصيرفة الإسلامية، عضو مجلس إدارة OFA. To start this event, I would like to call on the stage Mr. Sulaiman Al-Harthi, Deputy CEO of Bank Muscat Mithaq and board member of OFA. So I would like to kindly request Mr. Sulaiman to come on the stage. Pour ouvrir cet événement, je souhaiterais appeler sur la scène Monsieur Sulaiman Al-Harthi, Deputy CEO of Bank Muscat Mithaq, enfin de vous présenter cet événement et l'association Oman France Amitié. Merci infiniment pour Monsieur Sulaiman.
Votre Excellence, Mesdames et Messieurs, je suis honoré de vous donner ces discours d'ouverture en nom de Madame Hind Bahwan, notre présidente qui n'est pas pu venir aujourd'hui. Ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor to to be here today to give you this opening remarks on behalf of Ms. Hind, who is not able to make it today. I would like to say a few words on the Oman French Friendship Association, OFA. OFA is not a profit organization. It is registered with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and supported by the French Embassy. The primary objective of the association is to reinforce trade, cultural, and economic ties between Oman and French communities. With this in mind, I return to today's event. Oman is blessed with tremendous tourism potential. Under the wise guidance of His Majesty Sultan Qaboos bin Said, the government is investing heavily in enabling infrastructure development and clearly defined strategies to ensure that tourism becomes one of the most important economic pillars of the country. In this regard, my fellow board members and I firmly believe that OFA can play an important role in positioning Oman as a destination of choice for our friends from France and beyond. Hence, our theme today, Oman tourism gearing up for the future. Between the 5th and 11th of November, OFA invited 4 of France's best-known travel bloggers and influencers to discover Oman and share their first-hand experiences with their audiences across the globe, across multiple media platforms. We will get an insight of their perspective and experiences during the panel discussion. It will be very interesting to hear how they perceive Oman tourism to be gearing up for the future. Before I hand over to Mr. Cyril, who has very kindly agreed to be our moderator today, I would like to express OFA's gratitude to all sponsors and partners. Without your support and generosity, today's event would not have been possible. Thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy your day. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. سليمان. Merci infiniment, Monsieur سليمان. والآن يسرني أن أدعو البلوغرز لحضور للمنصة لعرض ومشاركة تجربتهم ومغامراتهم. Now, I'm inviting the bloggers to please come on the stage to share their discoveries and adventures.
For having us in Oman. It was such a beautiful trip we have, very short, but we are sure we will be back soon. So first of all, we would like to thank you all, the sponsors on of the street. If you want to, yeah. So we can start with the OFA for organizing this amazing trip and project, and Oman Air first for flying us as well to this beautiful country. Of course, the Ministry of Tourism for organizing all of this. Kimji House of Travel that help us during all the trip, and also all the hotels, resorts, and restaurants all around the country that welcomed us so warmly. So we are very, very glad we discovered Oman, and we will be back soon.
Everybody, so we all come from France, as you can obviously guess, with our accents. And we had a tremendous time here. Everybody welcomed us really amazingly. It was really, we felt the kindness of the Omani people. And our trip was, everybody made sure our trip went perfectly. Of course, lots of partners made this possible. We can list, we didn't have the same itinerary, but we had like eight different hotels that really made everything perfect for us. We saw so many different places, and we had a sense of what Oman has to offer. And honestly, even just on the road, doing nothing, just driving, we were blown away by the landscapes. It was like we wanted to stop every 20 minutes, and to be completely honest with you, we didn't have time to make everything that we were supposed to do. So that was really frustrating, but that's a good reason to come back.
So you discovered Salalah?
Yeah, sorry. I was in the south of the country, near Salalah, for 3 days. Then we went up to Muscat. Really amazing to know that the weather is so particular there. It's still a little bit green in some areas. Of course, it's drying out now, but it was really interesting to know that that side of the place. We saw thousands and thousands of camels, and it was like fantastic for us. The Mosque of Salalah, the wadis, mind-blowing places. Honestly, I don't know how many pictures I took. I sent them a selection of maybe 200, and yeah, it was really, really amazing. You were in the north.
Yes, as for us, we did a different itinerary. So we started in Muscat, and then we went up to the mountains. So Abdel Akkar, my pronunciation, Abtar. Sorry for the pronunciation, but beautiful mountains, very different from France, of course. And we stayed in the beautiful Alila hotels, which was just mind-blowing. And then well, it's not the good pictures, but it went fast. But anyway, you know your country. And then we slept in the desert, in a beautiful camp as well, the nomadic desert camp, under the million of stars. It was really authentic, a really good experience in the dunes. And yeah, and then we discovered the Wadi, so one of the jewels of Oman, we think. So this was an experience just itself, and then back to Muscat. So it was really a lot of things for 4 days, but amazing everything. The nature in this country is mind-blowing for sure. And we were impressed by all the variety, desert, the beach, the mountains, the desert. In 4 days we have done like 4 different environments in just one country, and this is not everywhere in the world.
So it was really, really great for having us. So
Thank you.
we're happy to answer all your questions and share our experience.
We have more posts on our
Yeah.
channel.
So if you feel free to follow us on our Instagram accounts, and we'll share lots of things in the upcoming days, because we try to post live, but now the real work actually almost starts, because we have to like check everything. I will make a video, for instance, and lots of contents are coming up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So you have been posting more or less live when you have some Wi-Fi, some of your feelings, some of your findings about Oman. What were the reactions or the comments or the question from your followers? Can you give us like an idea?
I think a lot of people that follows us, they have no idea about Oman. They don't know the destination, so they were like, wow, it's amazing. I didn't know in this part of the world we could find so many different things and natural things. Like this country is really untouched, almost, and they were impressed. Many people that follow us, they love adventure, so they really want to come and camp, for example, and just hike, trek, and enjoy the nature that is available here in Oman. In many countries in the world, you can't camp on the beach. You can do a lot of things that is possible here. So I think they want to come as well. So we will see in the next months and years, because our article on our blog will stay for, not forever, but for years. So yeah, it will inspire people to come for sure. It was good.
Yeah. And most of the reactions people had when we were sharing our stories were, for example, even for us, the size of Oman. Actually, I think people think it's a smaller country that it really is. So when we were driving around to see the distances, when we realized that it was almost as big as France, That's I think the first astonishment for most of them, and also the variety of they were like surprised to see everything. I think mountains, amazing beach, deserts in the same place like that. So for me, it was the most frequent feedback.
It's most of the people, they think it's a desert because you are close from Dubai and Qatar and all these countries. But when they saw the mountains, the wadis, they were like, wow, we can do that in Oman. So now they start thinking we need to plan a trip soon there.
Yeah, my name is Abdul Wahab Al Busaidi. This is actually not a question, but maybe rather a comment. So I would like to ask three of you. You have done a wonderful job, by blogging and maybe using the media, social media to promote Oman. This is wonderful. But do you have any particular specific, like burning suggestions or comments or anything that can be improved on, here? So if you'd like to tell us, to be frank, and maybe this is a platform that it can be noted down and improved upon. Thank you very much.
We obviously, Oman, we kind like its imperfections, its raw aspects, but of course you have plenty, I think, aspects that you could improve. What can you start? I think we have 10.
Yeah, a lot of things.
Examples, yeah.
You need to really take care of your beautiful country, and especially with the plastic. It's everywhere in the world. It's really difficult to get rid of the plastic. But for example, in the wadis, it was a pity for us sometimes to walk there and see so many bottles, empty bottles of water that were left there and floating in the water. It's such a pristine environment. So you could, for example, do more education about that. It's a remote place, you walk, you take your rubbish with you when you go. Put some signs on the car park at the entrance. Just tell the people that if they want to enjoy again and again and more these beautiful places, they need to take care of it. No leaf footprints.
That's one environmental feedback. We could say that when driving around, and a good example. So what we do when we are on a trip like this, we try to find the spots, beautiful spots that we heard about, that we saw, and sometimes are really difficult to find because the signals, the signs, the brandings are sometimes in Arabic, sometimes in English, sometimes they are big, sometimes are small, and as there's no GPS like on our Google Maps. There's no direction, so we learned that it was like that. It was it was dangerous for the drivers, but okay. But it made us difficult sometimes to find places. So we lost sometimes a little bit of time, and also energy. It's not good for anyone to drive too much around. Yeah. Another feedback is on the signals. So we are bloggers. We need connections. There was not Wi-Fi everywhere. We have even sometimes in big cities, in some hotels and restaurants. So that, I think, is mandatory today. Wherever you are, even in the middle almost of the desert, you should have a basic signal. And sometimes we didn't have that signal. I could tell you examples. Last month or almost, I was in Iceland. In the middle of a volcano, I had a 4G reception. And Iceland is actually a 300,000 people country, almost as wide as Oman, and they have signal everywhere. So I think for me, it's you have some people like to feel disconnected and really share. It's good. But when you're lost and you're you try to find your way, you have basic needs. So for me, on a personal basis, that is important. Maybe less for you, but everybody is different, you know?
For example, when you stay overnight in the desert, it's nice. It's really nice to be disconnected. We found that really, really good too. Not too much internet.
But to find the camp, you need internet.
Yeah, true. No, otherwise it was. Maybe we realized that you could have more restaurants, for For example, when you go to the Wadi Shab, there is no much offer when you want to go out to have lunch, for example. So we're a bit struggling with that. We didn't know the nice places to go in other countries. You just have a lot of nice restaurants on the beach. It's really laid back, and tourists love that. And you could do really great stuff here, but we were a bit like, where we can eat? So there is just a food truck, and we had something quick. But so I think Muscat is good. You have everything, but in the surrounding, if you are not in a big hotel, there is no much restaurant, not many.
Yeah, exactly. I had that feeling in Salalah. So when you go out of the hotels, the resorts, it's very hard to find a place. So of course there are like a lot of fruit stands to have a quick banana, a quick fruit, but we don't really know. There's not like lots of suggestions or places that we can go. So that offer can improve as well. And yeah, and one of my feedbacks is that when I saw Oman, I said, okay, what is the direction they want to take? Is it like big, do they want like hotels everywhere, or very nice eco-friendly tourism? I don't know. I think we had a taste of all that, and it's nice to mix, but yeah, it's good to know what kind of tourism you want to develop. That's one of the feedbacks we had. So what is it going to be? Like, we don't know. Actually, we don't have the answer. We can just tell what we saw. But we don't have that feeling of the general direction you want to take. So maybe that's something you need to think about and really decide together. But because it's hard to, I don't know, it's hard to tell what is Oman, you know? If you think about a country, you have to have like key points that must. If I say an example, if you say Dubai, you like or don't like Dubai, but you know that Dubai is fun. It's an example. You can do plenty of things. What can we do in Oman? Of course we know, because now we saw the potential. But from someone outside, I think almost like the branding is not clear for now.
And I have something else to say. And I have another point to tell as well, to share. We decided not to go to watch the turtles because some French people told us their experience here at the reserve, and it was really not a good experience. So they explained to us that the turtles were not really well treated. Too many people on the beach with lights on the phone, selfie with the turtle, like theme park with the turtles. And because we are really we're into nature and wildlife, we decided not to go. And we know it's really a key point in the country, the turtles. And you can inspire with Costa Rica, for example. It's a place where Australia, Costa Rica, the turtles come a lot. And they really take care of the wildlife. So we know it's difficult, but the rangers there, they're really strict with their policy. No phones, just no camera, no phones, just you go with the guide, and it's 10 people, 15 people per group, and far away from the turtle. The experience, the experience in these countries were okay, I mean, but we wanted to do it here. But when we heard these stories, we decided we can't do that, because with our community following us, it would have been like a lot of, oh, it's not good, blah, 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 blah. So we decided not to go. So I think this is really an important point you have to think about for the future. The turtles may not come back anymore in the years to come. So yeah, it can be done, but just a bit more strict, I think.
A quick question. The size of a blog and how many followers you have?
Let's start. So we are. I think we have different communities. So my blog generates good months. When it's a bad performance, I get like 100,000 visits to 120,000 visits. on a month. I have 2,000 articles posted on various destinations, on lifestyle, on sports. I mean, the things I do in life. My Instagram account, I have 16,000 people following. I don't have a Facebook page as you. I have a personal Facebook page. I don't have a fan page, you know. So that's the difference. With 3,000 friends who share the things on a daily basis.
So as far as we have a blog as well, so it's around 100,000 readers per month, like you. Pages, well, readers for us. And then we are mainly on Instagram with almost 100,000 people following us, and then a Facebook page, YouTube channel. We are a bit on every big channels today. So yeah, you're welcome to follow us, Best Jobbers. And we try to do it English and French on social media, but the blog is all in French. It's a lot of work to write, and we prefer do one language, but better than two languages, but not so good. So
والآن حان الوقت للجلسة الحوارية أو الجلسة النقاشية، وهنا أدعو الفاضل سيريل بيايا، شريك بشركة ستراتفورد وروسيل وعضو بورد OFA للمنصة، ليأخذنا من خلال الجلسة الحوارية بمعية المتحدثون الفاضل بدر الذهلي محاضر بكلية عمان السياحة، الفاضل روبرت ماكلين مدير معهد الوطني للضيافة، الفاضل ميشيل هاتبورد بروفيسور في المدرسة الفندقية العليا في باريس، الدكتور خالد عبد الملك جراح ومستكشف. And now it's the time for the panel discussion. I would like to introduce Mr. Cyril Piaya, partner at Stratford and Russell and OFA's board member, our esteemed moderator for today. To please join me. I shall now hand the stage over Mr. Piaya, and our panel speakers, Mr. Badr Al-Dehli, tourism lecturer in Oman Tourism College, and Mr. Robert Maclean, director National Hospitality Institute, and Mr. Michel Audbert, professeur école hôtelière de Paris, and Dr. Khalid Abdul Malik, surgeon and explorer. Please come to the stage.
Good morning, everyone, Your Excellency, dignitaries. It's a pleasure welcoming you here in this brand new resort, Kempinski. I think I have to be a bit more like this. Do you hear me well? Mm-hmm. Yeah. The idea of these two panels that we'll have is really to understand how we can gearing up for the future. What does this mean is to prepare ourselves to welcome the guests coming in this country and trying to provide them the best experience as we can for them to come and come again. So that's the idea. And we thought that we will have two panels. One panel is about focusing about people and sustainability, because we believe that it's very important to develop the people here to welcome the tourists, and how, in terms of sustainability, how we can basically ensure that this potential, this heritage, these assets of Oman are well preserved and are used for the many years to come. So that's the target of our first panel. The second panel will be more about infrastructure and technology. What is infrastructure is basically all the value chain of tourism, from the airlines to the tour operators, the travel agencies, the hotel, down to technology to support the tourism. So that's the subject of our second panel. So without waiting, before starting the discussion, I would like everyone to present yourself and a couple of words, maybe like 1, 2, 3, 4 minutes, maybe on your company, on your business, to explain what you are and what you are doing currently in Oman or even outside.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Robert McLean. I am the principal of the National Hospitality Institute, and we have been here in Oman for 23 years, and our key role is to provide training and education for particularly young Omanis to enter into the hospitality and travel industry. and that's our focus. We focus very much on vocational training rather than at the higher end. We believe that's the right way to start. I'm from the industry myself, so I know that the entry points, and we've had some great successes over the years, and we have some wonderful ex-students now who work in this industry, very often hidden away and not always seen, but they are there. There's still a lot more work to do. One of the challenges we have here, and may come up in discussion today, is about raising awareness of the jobs that are available amongst society in general, so that families, etc., can be more confident and more appealing to that their sons and daughters can actually join this wonderful growing industry in Oman.
Good morning. I would like to thank OFA first and the sponsors to welcome me. As you can hear, like the blogger, I'm French. You can recognize it with the pronunciation. I'm project manager for the Paris Academy for Vocational Training. And I'm teacher in the École Hôtelière de Paris. I do precise that it's a public school, and we form our students. We have 600 students. We form our students for all the management, catering, accommodation, diploma, with this very particular high vocational diploma, and at least for a bachelor later on.
Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. My name is Badr from Oman Tourism College. Oman Tourism College is the only institution we have here in Oman specialized in tourism, providing diploma and bachelor degree. This institution was established in 2001. We offer 4 programs in bachelor degree, international tourism and hospitality management, event management, tourism marketing, and the latest one is business enterprise. Of course, Oman Tourism College is a governmental institution, and of course we are working bitterly to meet the requirements of the tourism and hospitality market here in the country. And we work together with the Ministry of Tourism and, of course, with the tourism industry to boost this sector here in the country. As Robert said, also we provide short courses, vocational training, as we call it, in the tourism, hospitality, as well as travel and aviation industry. We have almost 821 students nowadays, and the good thing that the female number are much more than the male number in our school, and we are glad to see these things. And of course, during the discussion, we are going also to share some information about the programs and also the objective of this college.
Excellency, Mesdames, Messieurs, Salam alaikum. As Robert said, he's here since 23 years. I'm here since 23 days. So I'm very happy to be in this beautiful country. And I have to tell you, just to push it, because when we are in an environment, we don't realize how beautiful it is. If you live in a white beach, every day it's part of it. And you don't realize only when some people come and tell you, wow, what an amazing country. I'm working for Accor Hotel. Accor Hotel is a company who was born in 1950. From one hotel in north of France, Lille, today we have almost 5,000 hotels. In the last 3 years, we opened one hotel every 2 days in the world, which means that when the OFA asked me to share, if I could share with you certain things, it's not the hotel who's making the success, it's definitely the people. It's an adventure in between people and people, eyes and eyes, smile and smile, heart and heart. I am managing here two very nice small property, one Ibis in Muscat, which is quite successful, more than 80% occupancy, and with a nice satisfaction of guests. And we opened a new hotel not even 2 years ago in Soha, a Mercure Hotel, a 4-star hotel. And we have 5 hotels in pipeline, which means that Accor is here for long term. In 25 years, I'm going to beat the time of staying of my friend Robert. So definitely, I'm very happy to be in this amazing country and to learn from you and to give you my modest experience.
Thanks. Khaled?
Marhaba. Hi, everyone. So my name is Khaled Abdel Malak. I'm Lebanese. Professionally, I'm an oral surgeon. But it happened that when I came to this fantastic country in December '94, I fell in love with this land. And since 23 years, I am resident in this country, and I have practically a passion that I call Oman. And actually, my passion is to go and explore the pristine areas, mountains, caves, and other canyons of the country. And I wrote 2 books about Oman. The first book, it was in 2008, and the second one in 2014. And lately, we did a really nice small movie of half an hour with a professional French filmmaker. It was launched in the month of March this year. And lately, again, I worked with the BBC to do a 1-hour program about the canyons of Oman. And I took quite a big star of the BBC channel, Steve Bagshaw. And that's it. So my wish is to be able to, let's say, pass this passion that I have to this amazing country and amazing people. And my best wish is to leave it as is and not to change it, to have all the time this Omani cachet on it and not to be generalized like other countries. Thank you.
My first question for Khaled. Actually, Khaled, I know you since maybe 11 years, something like that. Yeah. The most difficult with Khaled is to reach him on the phone because he's either exploring a wadi or he's on a rope climbing a mountain or exploring the desert. So it's very difficult to get him on a panel, but we succeeded, so we're going to ask him some questions. Yeah. The first one is to answer the need of this growing tourism and especially adventure tourism. How do you see the preparation? How do we prepare the people? How do we prepare the sites, and how do we develop this sustainable tourism?
Yeah, actually, yeah, to start with is definitely for this kind of really very growing industry, the adventure tourism, is to start with the people. And when I say to start with the people is number one, okay, in Oman, to start with the language. So what I find, okay, I'm really lucky, let's say, because I'm an Arabic speaker, I'm Lebanese. So I don't have any difficulties when I go in the mountains, when I go in some remote villages. Okay, I can communicate with the people, but unfortunately, if some people who don't speak Arabic, not Arabic speaker, reaches these areas, they cannot communicate. So I think number one to prepare is the communication, is the language. So sometimes in the past, I had some discussions with some people from the authorities to tell them why not to open some small institutes, for example, in Jabal Akhdar or in Jabal Samhan or everywhere in the country, some small institutes that would eventually give, okay, I would say number one, English language, because it's the one that we need the most nowadays in the world, and to be eventually in the evenings, so people from the villages, when they are back to their homes, they can go and attend some English languages. Number two, as I was saying that this kind of tourism and this kind of industry is really growing, adventure tourism, let's start by also trying to educate these young men who are from these villages, and they don't want to leave the villages to come to the city to work. They want to stay there. Eventually to teach them to do how to do guiding and different levels, of course, because, for instance, okay, I know the French system, you have either a guide, a normal guide, which will have to be good have the good knowledges in history, in geography. Then you have guide de moyenne montagne. They are these guys who really can take you trekking and show you things, but without using any kind of ropes or any harnesses, so no climbing abilities. And the third and the highest level would be the guide de haute montagne, which is quite a long studies, let's say, and people who would be able to take you securely to do canyons, to make climbings, or to do other things where you need, climbing abilities.
Okay, so that's the people side. What are the sites? What about the sites?
Yeah, so the sites, okay, I've been here 23 years, and I can tell you that, okay, I don't go perhaps every single weekend, but at least 3 out of 4 in the month I'm out.
You can say 4 out of 4.
4 out of 4, for instance. The day before yesterday, I again discovered a new wadi that I didn't know, even though I was going out every weekend almost. And so by preparing or to localize the sites is first of all to decide, okay, this site is good for trekking, this site is good for climbing, and therefore you have to see which site can accommodate so many people and this kind of activities. So, for instance, Jabal Akhdar, that I know almost every single bit of it, there are many places who are fantastic for trekking, other places who are fabulous for eventually caving, the other sites for climbing. And then my really big hope is these sites not to disform them. Keep them as is. For instance, if you want to build something, tents, for instance. You don't have to build something, hard structures everywhere. You can build some tents where people can come, and then when the season is over, you can just remove the tents, and you won't affect that much the environment. Otherwise, you can also start to prepare these sites, for instance, for the trails. You have some extraordinary trails, just going from one village to the other one, crossing by another abandoned village. So these trails, you can just prepare them, and by that mean prepare them, they are already there. They have that to be, they just have to be marked and maintained, and from the people from there, because they know these trails and they know how to restore them by putting rocks or whatever, and then the marking to be a little bit less, flashy. Instead of putting, big marks with colors, to put some small marks with wood and, writing on the piece of wood, or carving, the name of the village that you want to, how many minutes you need to reach it, how many meters altitude, some information that you need it, and not to put only these, big, huge marks with colors, yellow and red and pink, For me, I would rather see something natural than something,
What about maps? Because many tourists are coming to Oman. We heard the bloggers about the issue of Google Map, maps, really
yes.
Detailed maps of the countryside.
Yeah, I think this is a big project. For instance, okay, I wrote a book about canyons, and in this book, okay, I just put everything that you need to do this canyon with GPS points, with everything that you need to reach and to do the canyon. So in the same thing, you should definitely have some maps of the trails. This is very important to do, and for that, as my fellows, the bloggers were saying, yeah, you can get lost. This is true. This is true. So you have to do maps. You have to map all these trails, and you can, get the help of the locals.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Khaled.
Thank you.
My next question is for Robert and Badr together. So you guys are at the core of what the tourism sector needs, is to have qualified and trained people. Training is absolutely key. So I have a tricky question for both of you. I want to read a quote from an article from Times of Oman from the 8th of August 2014, so 4 years back, talking about the challenges for tourism in Oman. And I found this quite interesting. The newspaper article was basically saying that one of the key challenges we have in Oman, I'm talking about hospitality sector, first of all, a lack of humanization, a lack of interest among our nationals to work into hospitality industry, non-availability of skilled Omani staff for certain position, kind of high turnover of the local workforce, and of course, some recruitment difficulties linked to that, and the lack of availability of professional tour guides. My question to you, has the situation changed, and how, through your institution, did you help changing the situation?
Well, thank you very much for that. Well quoted. It's a common quote that we hear quite a lot. I would have to say that reality is a little bit different. That it actually is a thriving, genuine interest amongst Omanis about this industry, and it is growing. I've seen, certainly in the last 18 months to 2 years in particular, the number of young Omanis coming forward for any positions that are available has increased. And I can just see that from just counting, just the numbers are there. The industry itself has always had a particular view from certain quarters and certain cultures. It's not always the one that's the most desirable, and one of our jobs, as I very much see it as the role of my company, is to show the industry in its best light, to show that there are good parts to the industry. And when we do that, we do get a lot of young people coming in who get very excited about it. Now, one of the most exciting things for us is, in the last 10 years in Oman, look at the growth, look at the amazing, where we're sitting today. This was not here. So we now use these brands as an attraction, as a marketing tool to say, look, if you work for this brand here in Muscat and you do well, you might get a job with this brand in another country and you can travel and everything else. So we use all these tools to help attract. So there's the industry is more attractive than what it was. I think there's a better understanding amongst employers to some of the things they have to do themselves to ensure the attraction is there and to help reduce some of the turnover that we have. But our industry is high turnover across the world. It's everywhere. It's not just here. It is a high turnover industry. But the great value of this industry is you bring people into this industry, they learn so many different skills. And when they leave, I am constantly coming across students who may not be in the industry anymore, but they have thrived by going into other sectors and have picked up on those initial skills that they learned, whether it was language improvement, service skills, attitude, dealing with people, so many across the board. So I think it actually has been quite a positive story. So I'd like to turn the article around.
Yeah,
and
that was a teasing.
Yeah, it is. It's very easy to say it's a challenge. We know it's a challenge. If it wasn't a challenge, we wouldn't be here doing
Absolutely.
it.
But Robert, how do we make our industry more attractive for young Omanis who are graduating? They are like wonderful Omanis graduating from NHI, OTC, and unfortunately, when they go out, basically there is a lot of competition for banks, government. They offer a better paycheck. So they have a diploma or from your institution, and they will go and work for a bank. So how do we get those people back in the industry?
Well, that's one of our jobs, and I see very clearly as a duty. We're not there just to process people through training programs. We are there to motivate, to build the passion, let them to understand what this industry is all about, what opportunities they have within this industry. And I've seen many students who've come in with a plan to get through the initial interview, to get into training with the eye on the government job. And by the end of the program, on many occasions, and I mean many without exaggerating, it's been turned around because they've seen what's possible. Through their on-job training, they've had access to working actually in the building itself. They've seen, wow, what a place to work. And I wanted to work in a little place up at the back of whatever, change. And also, family attitudes are changing. Students used to be under a lot of pressure. They wouldn't even say to their parents which programs they were on. They would come up with another name. That is beginning to change, but we could do with some more assistance from whether it's government or society in general to step back and raise the awareness of the jobs that are available and praise them and say, yes, they are worthwhile, because we've come, in all the time I've been here, we've come through a period where they were not seen to be worthwhile jobs. So you have a young person battling. He wants to do the job, but actually he's being told from certain parts of the family or society, maybe that's not the right thing to do. That is changing and it's improving. So I'm quite positive. I see it's moving.
Excellent.
And we've got some fantastic stars coming through training now.
Fantastic.
I think Robert was a bit diplomat when he solve or even talk about the issue. Yes, there is an issue with what you have said, that most of our students are not, or even graduates are not joining the industry. And in fact, this is reality. It's not an overstatement to say that 60% of OTC graduates are not joining the tourism industry when they graduate from OTC with all programs, either Bank Muscat or other banks in Oman, or even they're looking for a governmental job. There are many reasons. I mean, we have done many research on that, and there are many obstacles that those students found to join the industry. I think the cultural obstacle is not anymore an issue, as what Robert said, where many families think about tourism industry as not as an attractive, place for our kids. The issue is that students or even graduates always comparing between jobs. So if I work in a bank, I get 7 hours work from 8 o'clock in the morning until 3 o'clock in the afternoon, then I'm done. While if I'm working in the hotel or even in an airport or an airline, I should work 24/7. And we are a cultural or even very social community where people are much more connected with their families. So I think, understanding the culture of those people throughout the work environment in the hospitality or the aviation sector or even the tourism sector is very important to encourage the Omani youth. This is one part. The other part, thanks to the Ministry of Tourism a few years ago, we started together an excellent campaign where we roadshow around the country to visit schools, encouraging the Omani youth to join the tourism industry. We tried to correct so many misunderstanding issues that they might get as perception throughout the community. We succeed. But this campaign should not stop with only Ministry of Tourism. All sectors should work together, either hotels, Ministry of Information, all units we have here in the country are involved in that to encourage the Omani youth to join the tourism industry. And I can assure you that the tourism strategy 1640 clearly mentioned that tourism industry will provide more than 600,000 jobs for the Omani youth in the next few years. And one of the biggest issues we have here in Oman nowadays is unemployment. Because many, it's not anymore governmental sectors and a place where it can, take the graduates and employ them. So, and many private sectors are not anymore also generating jobs for the people because technology replaced human, to work. But still, tourism sector in need for the employees or even the human resource to work on it. And throughout the expansion that we have here in Oman in the tourism industry, we will still need Omani youth. But are the Omani aware of that? Do we have proper awareness campaign to the Omani people to work or even to attract them working in the industry? I don't think so.
What should we do then?
I think all of the sectors should work together, managed or even headed by the Ministry of Tourism to educate the Omani. We should visit schools. We should go to the schools and tell them that this is the future. And it's not a must that you should come and study. And this is the issue that we have. We should not come, it's not a must to come and study here in Muscat. Many Omanis feel homesick, especially those who graduate. So they prefer, from the schools, prefer to study in a university close to their hometown, either in Nizwa or in Salalah or wherever, where they don't provide tourism programs. So why don't we go and teach them there? And it's not a must that we, as what Khalid said, it's not a must that we should give them, a bachelor degree or a very, professional, diplomas, to work in the industry. Why don't we go to the small villages? Maybe this boy needs to help his father in the farm. So he doesn't, the father will not allow him to go and study for 1 year or 2 years because he needs him to help in the farm. So why don't we go on the village, on these areas, and conduct courses or even little course to involve them and keep them working in this industry?
Can I give an example that which is alive, and Robert is part of it. 4 years ago, I opened a hotel in the south of Sri Lanka, in a place called Habantunta. There is a village where, unfortunately, half of the people don't go to school. They are barefoot, poor place. And we wanted to hire people from there. So we took all the villages for the people from 18 to 30 years old, and we said, come to us, in 3 years we are going to open a hotel. And we took the people. Never anyone had a passport, never anyone took a plane, they didn't speak any English. 1 year in the village English school. Okay, we invest in the village, a small place, by wood, an English school. It took us 3 teachers who come 6 hours a day. After this, we send the people for 1 year in different places where we have hotels. Some of them has been in Oman, and Robert took care of them for 1.5 years. Today, on these 50 people, there is 28 who are still working with us, and some of the other ones took the responsibility to work in competition. So definitely, to deal with the local community is one of the key things to do.
Absolutely. I would like to come back on the attractivity of our industry, because I think this is a key issue. Yeah, we need to train more Omanis into hospitality, but our industry is not so attractive. You were mentioning that 60% of your graduates out of Oman Tourism College are actually working afterward in other industries. So that's a serious matter. We talked about the culture changing. That's fantastic. Working in very rewarding places like this hotel, fine. Bottom line, when you are a student, a young Omani coming out of the school, you are going to get married. You need the paycheck is one of the key issues. You have an hotelier here. Do we have as hotelier and industry to raise the salaries? Do we have to provide more benefits to be more competitive compared to the other industries? What would be the solution?
I think the financial side is not an issue with the Omanis as far as you can, but the issue that we should understand the cultural side of their needs. I think that we should give them more incentives in terms of facilities they can get, a decent place to stay, or even of accommodation. Incentives in terms of even showing them the future of those.
So perspective, cross exposure, working in other
until
countries.
now, to be honest with you, I haven't seen a role model here in Oman of a tourism industry. We need to see role models in the hospitality sector that Omani youth were, started from the scratch, now is growing and reached this sector. And I'm very pleased to talk about the financial sector here in Oman. We started in 1992 to have a very, optimistic strategy in replacing expat with Omanis in the banking sector. Nowadays we can see an excellent role model in the banking sector here in Oman, where 95%, even if it's not more, Omanized sector, which is really something you feel very proud of, where we could get role models and all Omanis follow these role models. We need to see those role models in the sector where the Omanis can follow, or even they can see their futures throughout these.
So inspiration is
these role models. So I think financial part is not an issue, or even getting salary. I think tourism sector is giving very good salaries, but the incentives, we should also provide a decent accommodation or even environment where they can work in, and we have to show also role models in the sector.
Robert, you want to say something on
I think one of the issues you raised up, and I agree with Bara's point, but we have to the elephant in the room in this situation is the industry has survived for many, many years on quite often low-paid expatriate workforce. we're trying to put a local workforce into the same box, and it doesn't work. You have to change the shape of the box. It's not to say it's less work or it's going to be an easier job, it's just different, and it will take into account what Barrett made comments there about some of the cultural aspects. And if we can contain some of them, you will find the job actually being more attractive to those individuals without the company losing the competitiveness of the workforce, etc. And it just needs, I think, a little bit of imagination. But one point just to pick up. We talk very much about Omanisation, and of course that's a government legislation and it's a right thing to do, and of course it is in any country you want to employ. But what about the attractiveness as the brand? I mean, we looked at lots of pictures of camels and sand and mountains and wadis. Where were the pictures of the Omani faces? Because when people come here, the thing they talk about when they're about to leave are all the local people they have met. These are absolutely key to encouraging people to come to the country. Absolutely. When you sell Oman abroad, that's one of the things people want to come here for, to see the culture. And if those people are not in those key areas, then it's not a sort of a legislative issue. It's actually selling the brand. So we have to have them in there for even double reason.
Okay, thank you. Michel. So Michel, you are a teacher from École Hôtelière de Paris. You are defining, tailoring specific trainings actually for developing hospitality skills. How do you see from an external eye, how can you bring a French expertise in the game here?
Thanks a lot. First of all, I would like just to complete a part. What we offer to our students is a future, not a job. We offer them a future. And they can be sure that they can progress in hotel industry. When I say hotel, I'm speaking about accommodation and catering. But on the same part, we explain them that the world is open. And when I hear that Omanese people want to stay in Oman, okay, the world is ours. I mean that even after the study, they go abroad, they will ever come back with more professional skill. So explain them first that the world is for each of our students. Your students, our students. What we can have like possibility of exchange, it can be teachers exchange or visiting professor. It can be internship, welcoming from both parts. It can be co-graduation. Why not to envisage? Because we renew our own diploma last year. All of our diploma are taking care of the evolution of the hotel industry, because hotel industry is moving all over the world. Today it's not only to offer a room or to offer a meal. There is the importance of customer experience, of emotion for the customer. And finally, we can we can think about organization of the French Gastronomic Week, for example, in Oman.
Yeah, this we did. Mehdi, you are here since 23 days, quite short. You are the general manager of IBIS, so you are an hotelier here, the only one on this panel. How do you see the key challenges of training and developing hospitality here from this external eye? What are your early findings? What are your recommendations?
It will be very difficult to give my point of view after a short notice of experience here, but by exchanging to the people who are working in my hotel here or in Sohar, I can see that technically they know the job, whatever. I'm talking about the Omanis. Technically, at the reception, they know how to proceed completely at the checking process, checkout process. They know it very well. In finance, they know what to do. Now, the image, it's not the image that the guest is receiving. He doesn't want to go to a room. He wants to go to an environment. So we're not supposed to give a room, we're supposed to give an experience. And all the difference is just, again, in between to be guest-oriented, to look at the people in the eyes, to try to personalize him. And I'm sure that at the school we say that. Maybe it's our job as hotelier to push on this, that the guest, when he comes, he says, wow, it's... let me give you an example. I go to the restaurant as a guest. I am with my wife. I eat. The music is quite nice. The environment is quite nice. I order the food. It's quite tasty. It's hot. It's very nice. So I paid for a nice lunch, and I had a nice lunch. So I get everything for my money. What's going to make the wow effect if it's the employee engage the conversation, know the guest, give the little plus extra, and this is just a meaning of being guest-oriented. I'm not serving food, I'm serving guests. So I guess if we can go on this, it can make a difference.
Right. Mehdi, actually you are the client of somehow NHI, OTC. What do you expect from an applicant coming from their institution? What do you want to say to Robert and Bader?
In fact, I had the pleasure to invite Robert to have lunch last week, and maybe I will have the pleasure to be invited by you next week. And what I am expecting is we work together. You have young people who are ready to open the door to the professional way. We have some hotels, and we need young people trained. So we are complementary, and I guess if at the beginning we can work together, and this is definitely what we can talk, it's very important. Also, what I would like is some theory things when you do a project with your student per group. You say, okay, let's pretend to open a restaurant, let's pretend to open certain things. Let's try to do it with a professional. Maybe us, hotelier, we would like to do it in live. So maybe there is a win-win situation by working completely together from the size. Last things, but I am very happy that you say that most of your students are ladies. I'm very happy to see so many ladies. Believe me, most of the part of the world, when we do a symposium of tourism, this is not the case, so I'm very happy. In my hotel, this is not the case, unfortunately. So if we can have more ladies, Omanis, because half of our guests are ladies, and ladies are done. I am, again, sorry to tell you about my own point of view. I am in this industry since very, very long time, working everywhere in Japan, in Australia, in France, in Italy, managing cruise line, managing big hotel. But if I have a very important dinner at home, my wife is a banker. If I have a very important dinner at home, who is going to cook? Not me. Who is going to choose the flower? Not me. Who is going to take off the perfume? Not me. Ladies naturally has certain sense of hospitality, of receiving people much better than us. So we think we have the know-how. No, ladies have more than us. So in this business, if we can have more ladies, it's going to be very benefit.
Yeah. Please, Michel.
So thanks a lot, Mehdi, for what you say. Just for smiling, there is quite a difference. My wife is financial too. And when
so all of us, we are going to talk about our wife now. Very good.
So when we receive people at home, I'm cooking. She doesn't know. Just a point. We decide in France for graduation to renew all the programmers, as I said. But actually, our programmers are co-built with the hotel industry. It's finished to organize our programmer inside of the national education. Actually, all the syndicate, the operators in hotel and restaurants are participating, and that's why we add as a special program, as a part of our program, actually, even the digital communication. Because as the blogger said, we had no other way for communication. Okay, there is still the exchange which is the most important exchange, man to man, woman to woman, man to woman. But we need to, the customer experience is not only on the time that our customer is coming on the reception desk. The customer experience starting much before, and the customer experience is finishing 1 month after his stay or after his dinner.
Just maybe a last question before we do a Q&A, a question for Mehdi and for all of you. To make it more attractive, because that's the bottom, we need to attract more Omani youngsters with us in the hospitality. Do you think that flexibility of timing is something that could be appealing to young Omanis? I had many times in my hotels the feedback, look, we are people working in the oil industry, they do 2 weeks in the desert, they make 2 weeks shift and they have 2 weeks vacation. Is this something that we can consider in the hospitality industry to make it more appealing to attract our young Omanis to work with us?
Thank you. The attractivity of this industry, first of all, is not a Omanis problem. It's in all over the world. It's very easy. Banks are closed at 3, 4, 5 o'clock, and they are closed in the weekends. And we are working when people are having fun. In New Year, we are working. In weekend, this is where we're making our business in our F&B. So how can we take this disadvantage as an opportunity? So this is how we have to work on that. And what I think, what we can propose in this business that we don't specially propose in the bank is to make understand the person, look where you are working. So somewhere we are selling happiness. Somewhere we are selling a lots of good things, which is not as paperwork and all this. Secondly, we have to go through storytelling. I'm sure there is some GM who are today Omanis in some beautiful hotel. So these people has to help us to go to the schools, because there is no, I'm sure there is like 10 GM around this table. No one after the school become GM. All of us, we start from the beginning. He was a beautiful and wonderful GM. We all start at F&B or front office or guest relation or whatever, and we grow up. So we ask for some students to speak 2, 3 languages, to be very good in computer skills, to be everything. We ask them to be well-dressed, to be well, and at the end, we ask them to make a small job. Up to us to identify the talented people and to move. And also, our industry propose in places like this. Kempinski has hotels in all over the world. So someone good, it's up to us to deal with Kempinski, telling them, please, 2, 3 people a year has to go for 1 month, 2 months in cross-training and whatever. And all this story will make, otherwise, yes, definitely
on
we'll
my
have a problem.
specific point of flexibility of time.
I
This
think
is something that is...
Yeah, and several hotels actually are very good at doing what you suggested, that they will move people around. Yeah, we dealt with, when we had to deal with like Musandam and some of the more outlying places, they were being very good. They actually rearranged the holiday timings and the days off, so there was clumped together with maybe 4 days in a row or whatever these things. So some of the hotels have actually been very good. They've understood the need to make that
especially
change.
many Omanis who are working far away from their family, they want to take the time to go back to their family, spend time with their relatives. So that's, I think, something very
This
key.
is what happened in Musandam, and that's they've actually they've done quite well in the retention up at Ziggy Bay, and the retention has not been too bad because they've put this thing in quite a long time ago. They did that actually.
I think our job at RTC starts from receiving students from the secondary school until they graduated with either diploma or bachelor degree. We ask the industry to keep a positive perception about their places of work. Students receive a lot of, during their internship program while they are studying, they're receiving a lot of negativity from the people who are working, and they interact with either with the load of work hours or the environment or so many things. So we ask the industry to stop this negativity because this changed the perception of the students. We try to keep them more enthusiastic, more motivated to go and work in the industry, and then they get clashed with this negativity, which we don't want to see it. And I think that this is the job of the management of those hotels, where students, when they do the internship, they get the same perception they take with them from the school or the institutions, and keep them continuing and getting more enthusiasm to work in the tourism industry. I think this is the only thing that we need, and I think Omani people are happy to work in
Thank
any,
you very
any
much.
place.
We are running short of time, so please give a round of applause.
So you were talking about ladies in the hospitality industry and how we have the touch of picking the right flowers. That's all great. I just want to ask, in Oman specifically, what are we doing about this? I'll just speak to you from my own personal experience as a lady that had worked in the hospitality industry for the last 8 years before I moved into the outdoor industry now. So speaking about ladies, I actually was at the Oman Tourism College and got a scholarship to go continue my studies in Austria. When I got the scholarship was given to Omanis, not generalizing male or female. At the point where the scholarship was finally awarded, I was the second with my grading. The first one was an Omani female. Second was me, and the third was an Omani male. Now the scholarship never came to me, reason being, and I said this directly, by a government official, no names or government entities specified, saying that we need to give a chance to Omani men because there are not enough Omani men in this industry.
This has to change.
So maybe this has been changed, and that's great, but I just want to give you the facts against what we believe to be true. The second thing is about financial not being an issue. I'm not sure if that is actually the case, because so when this Omani did come back, female Omani, from studying 4 years, her master's in a different language, so came back with 5 languages, and was offered an amazing job at the hotel industry for 400 reals, whereas my colleagues were starting at 1,000. So, having said that though, I was one of the rising stars and performed very well, and due to my performance, started as a sales executive and finally made it to director of sales and marketing. So I would say there are some success stories out there. The question is it recognized or not? Okay. My final point is we've had a very interesting discussion over here, but I found it a bit. There's the adventure industry, then there's the hotel industry. And same thing when the French bloggers were up and they were speaking, I wasn't sure about the connection. So yes, they experienced an amazing Oman in 5-star hotels and resorts, whereas they were talking about adventure tourism in the outdoors. So I want to ask the question to whoever may want to answer, what is the relation that we have as a country between the two? Are we even linking them? Should we be linking them? Like you said, Dr. Khalid, one of the beautiful things that we have is that it is Oman, it is outdoors, it is untouched. Would we like to keep it that way? On the other hand, we have this mixed message that we are a luxury country and this is all that we do offer and all we want to offer. So do we have mixed messages here? Is it clear? And finally, when these bloggers do go back to their countries and talk about the wonderful outdoors adventure experience they had in Oman, to their, I'm assuming, young followers who are about the same age group as them, do they have the financial power to come to Oman then and spend in these 5-star hotels? Thank you.
Who wish to answer?
Very good. Well, I make part of the comment because I'm sure that you would all like to comment on this one. But just on that last point, I think that is a fair point. I mean, the outdoors and what the blogger showed was fantastic. And being here for so many years, it's wonderful to see it portrayed like that, as it should be. But it is a bit of a challenge. What are we doing? Are we targeting because the impression was that it was a 5-star resort. We didn't want what we call the backpacker types and all the rest of it. And yet, one of the biggest attractions we have is backpack land. Now, would a backpacker come and stay in a 5-star? Not sure. So what have we done to balance that out?
I think that there is a tourism strategy that has been set up, and I think Oman is big enough to welcome everyone in terms of there are so many things to do in Oman. You can stay in a 5-star resort, and if you like this, you stay on the beach, and you can also explore and discover Oman. I think the country has so much potential that you can basically cater any kind of tourism. That's my personal answer, but I guess
I think
you
it's
may
big
have
enough,
some
but where the market has been very much up to the big brands coming in, and is that going to, as Anissa's point, the people who are over there with much lower budgets who want to come to the country to do the wadis, have they got the spend power to come and stay in quite limited accommodation in the interior areas where the activities might be? And then there are other options of staying in places like this, which I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think we should really work on both sectors. And I think the sector which is not at all developed is my fellows, the bloggers sector, which is not developed at all. And I think that we have really to make a separation between the two. Means that we have to keep some areas untouched, because once you touch them, it's not anymore Oman. It's not any more different from other places. It will be exactly the same like other places. The 5-star is the same, whether to be in Paris, whether to be in England, whether to be in Oman, whether to be in the States. But the nature is different. The culture is different. So you should not change it.
I don't want to be more theoretical on, I mean, you can't untouch or this untouch. As far we need tourism, I mean, throughout my experience, there is no place that the tourists step on it cannot be impacted by tourism. It has to be touched. But how we can, as much as possible, preserve, protect, and minimize the impact. There is no chance to avoid impacts of tourism. This is everywhere in the world. But how we can minimize the impacts of tourists in this area. And according to the tourism strategy that we have clusters, I mean playgrounds, and Muscat, Salah al-Dhafar are the first one, then they move to the other sites which are needed in development.
I think the best is maybe to ask the question to Her Excellency.
Actually, I thank you very much for inviting us, Minister of Tourism, been part of this amazing forum. And we always really like associations where we can bring the countries together. And I think this is a very real example where we, under this association, we brought really expertise from France, and to share actually with our colleagues here in Oman, either from public or private sector. And thank you, panelists. I think it was really overwhelming, and knowing each one of you and what the backgrounds and talking about the industry. I thought just a few ideas, and I saw the bloggers, and I welcome you to Oman, and I hope you enjoyed your stay and definitely coming back. The government have put tourism as one of the biggest pillars, or 5 of the most diversification of our economy. And looking into that, we were mandated to put a clear strategy, and many people use the word strategy, and we're trying to avoid that, because strategy can be fixed, and you say you can't have 40-year strategy. It's a roadmap where we actually re-evaluating it every 5 years with our financial plans with the government. So we're aligning that with the government financials as well. Minister of Tourism is mainly now is only a regulator. We plan, we regulate, and we're really working with our private sectors, our partners, either the hotel industry or the tour operators and other stakeholders like the academics or the vocational training. And yes, we have learned a lot, and it's actually on a monthly basis we review all our roadmap and what is needed. And it was trained to, I mean, usually people say, what is Oman? Oman, yes, is an authentic Arabia where you can get a lot of experiences here, but the strategy very clear, and it's under www.experienceoman.gov.m. It has all the itineraries required, and our mandate, what is our true north, what is our targeted audience, what kind of tourism we're looking. We're looking for a responsible tourist. How do you define a responsible tourist? A responsible tourist who respects actually the culture, the nature, and he does impact your economy. We have to look into our contribution to our GDP. Looking into the last 8 years, we have grown in our GDP contribution. We have grown in number of Omanis working in the sector. Today, an example of aviation industry, we have creating a holding company, and I'm a part of that holding company as well as representing tourism. The holding company of aviation is 60% is tourism strategy, So they're working hand in hand, and 40% is logistics. We have created a development company, which is Umran, and I believe their tourism colleges will under that company, and they're looking actually all the executions plans of our strategy or our map plan. Definitely in terms of like what are we looking at, which we have new source markets. Like any country, we have geopolitics, we have things happening. We had to really revisit where are we targeting. We work with the airlines to open new markets. At the same time, I think many of you have touched bases and discussed is the domestic travel. Today, because of the government has spent it so much in our infrastructure, and I think next session is under infrastructure. Today, even our regions became closer. 3 years ago, before opening even Jebel Akhdar, Alila, and 5-6 years ago when I joined the government, I remember we were thinking like, who's going to work there if we bring these projects? And happy to say today, Anantara is actually 40% of their workforce is Omanis, and they're from Jebel Akhdar. And most of the resources are from Jebel Akhdar. So definitely we're bringing the models, and we have maybe to talk more about it. It will take time, but to look into where we're growing today, and the numbers are very positive. Women have worked in the workforces here in the tourism industry. I think I was in the college 3 years ago on the tourism day, and I was sharing, I said, guys, do you know that we have one tour guide, a female, been licensed by us? And it was really a wake-up call. And today I'm proud to say we already actually licensed just 3 weeks ago. We have seven women, and actually they are now on the road. They're doing their own companies, and they're actually managing tour guides, women. We have, as a ministry, accordingly to the development we see, what we did, every 2 years, or even if it's needed before, we change our regulations. Meaning, now a tour guide can be a general tour guide. He can be specifically adventure, culture, leisure, or he can be a regional one. So we say you don't need to leave your region. You can stay there. We license anybody would like to be licensed, but like any industry, we have to regulate it. This is a vast country. It's a beautiful country. And yes, it can have impact in we have to look into sustainability. And what is said today, definitely we have a mix of the product. 4 years ago, we created bread and breakfast, like what they call it, Beauty Diyafa, namely. We worked with culture homes.
Yes.
This has never existed, but we saw the appetite, we saw the culture. The region would love really to work with us. So like when you go to Misbat al-Abriyin, it's a 9-bedroom home, and it's created really, actually everything. The cooks are coming from the region, the ladies, and in terms of adventure is one of our pillars, not only to attract adventure. We have over 54% of Omanis are youth. They have a massive energy, and now everybody wants to tap the tourism industry. That's why we have put now in the ministry, we have a department who are looking into adventure tourism. But we are regulating to be a responsible people who are coming. We can't just bring people and environmentally impacting. We are finalizing now actually 6 clusters, which is Salala, Al-Dakhiliya, Al-Sharqiya, and Masqat, and Musandam. And these clusters will definitely define what kind of products, and we built it from there. And even adventure tourism is something we can't just ignore it. But today I'm proud even to come here, and I saw some of Omani companies who have been established a few months ago, and I've inaugurated the opening. They are Omanis who are specialized in adventure tourism, but we said it has to be regulated in a high end, in a good end. So they know about the security, they know about the safety, they know about where to go, where not to go. But definitely it's good to share this, and we'll take it. And I thought just to give this summarizing, I think it can take us the whole day to say what we're doing.
Thank you very much for explaining this. It's a very interesting discussion, but we are running out of time. Sorry. Thank you very much again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
What's
very interesting. I just wish to say that
المعذرة سيقدم سعادة السفير الفرنسي كلمة and now the French ambassador Mr. Ronan Salah will give a speech.
Dear distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is a privilege for me to almost conclude this special day dedicated to the promotion of French tourism in Oman through the testimonies of 4 French bloggers and influencers who kindly came to the Sultanate for 2 very unique journeys around your beautiful country. I'm sure this event and the communication around it will strongly contribute to the growing success of the Omani destination in France. Already we are witnessing an exponential rise in the number of French people visiting the Sultanate. They were 50,000 last year, 50,000 French visiting Oman, which amounts to 20% growth in visitors over the previous year. I'm sure that the discussions held today have been fruitful for all of you. Tourism is one of the 5 top main sectorial priorities of the Sultanate. It's part of the Tanfid initiative in order to promote economic diversification, encourage private investment into the country, and create jobs for Omanis. As you may know, tourism plays a very important role in the French economy, contributing to 7.3% of our total GDP, and this specific industry is responsible for no less than 2 million direct and indirect jobs, representing 7.2% of total jobs in France. Therefore, I would be delighted to see French expertise and competencies contribute more and more to the development of the tourism sector in Oman. In that regard, I hope that today's presentation of our know-how will constitute a first step towards tighter cooperation between our 2 countries. I know for a fact that our companies are fully ready to play their role in the development of the sector, notably by providing training to further improve Omani skills. There's so many assets in the Sultanate and the potential for tourism is very high. In order to materialize this potential, you already have a few amazing infrastructures. As an illustration of this, we will witness tonight a strong achievement for the development of tourism in Oman with the official inauguration of the new state-of-the-art Muscat International Airport, which will, without any doubt, boost tourism and increase the number of visitors in the Sultanate. I would therefore like to offer to all Omanis my congratulations upon this new milestone. Last, let me conclude on a more personal note. As France and many other countries celebrate today the remembrance of the 100th anniversary of the end of World War I. The Turkish ambassador, by the way, is among us today, and I salute her. I was this morning with my European colleagues at an official ceremony to honor all those young men who lost their lives in France and elsewhere between 1914 and 1918. Over the last 50 years, Oman has played an incredible role to promote peace in this part of the world. I believe friendship, culture, traveling, and then of course tourism also directly contribute positively to the quest of peace. So please keep welcoming visitors in Oman. Keep showing them your way of living, sharing your culture and heritage in order for your country to continue being a peacemaker in this part of the world. Thank you very much.
المتحدثون في الجلسة الحوارية النقاشية الثانية: الفاضل جمال الأزكي، مدير أول قسم مبيعات في عمان بالطيران العماني. الفاضل جونتان سترينز، شريك في مازارز. الفاضل لوجينا الخروص، المؤسس والرئيس التنفيذي شركة إنفوجو. الفاضل ماجد الوشاحي، والرئيس التنفيذي لشركة بوابة دليل. الفاضل كاشيو فيتوم، المدير العام لكيمجيز بيت السفر. الفاضل تيري بورو بيرو، المدير العام الإقليمي لمجموعة فنادق انتركونتيننتال عمان.
For being on my panel. So we had a first panel this morning about people and sustainability, which is a key part of developing the tourism in this country. The second panel will focus more on infrastructure and technology. So the idea is to understand how do we develop Omani tourism infrastructure to be up to the level of the expectations of our guests visiting Oman, while, for example, leveraging on some new technologies, and we'll get some example this morning. When we say infrastructure in our industry, what does this mean? It's basically all the value chain from going to take the plane from your home country, arriving in Oman. So the airline is the first brick in this infrastructure. Taking the transportation, either a taxi, muasalat bus, or whatever, or renting a car to start visiting the country, reaching an hotel, so that's another part, and doing all this through a tour operator or travel agency that has been organizing all this. This is what we call infrastructure. So my first, let's say, general question for the panel is, how would you define the level of readiness of Oman infrastructure to welcome tourists? What is missing, or what could be improved in this overall chain that we just described?
No, I think one of the key bridges, you need to move the tourists from point A to point B being Muscat. Can you hear me? Or, yeah. The airline is expanding. I think things are smooth in that aspect. We have the DMCs, or the inbound tourism companies, are developing. I'm in touch with them quite a bit, and it's interesting to see the languages that are being picked up by the different Omani tour operators. In my opinion, I think the biggest you could call a bottleneck would be the actual hotels in Oman. I don't think there's enough hotels in the right segment. We hear a lot about 5-star hotels opening up, a lot of 4-star hotels opening up. We know that the government doesn't want the tourists who do not impact the GDP, but we can't just close a blind eye to the large number of tourists who come in. And today one of the bloggers was talking about connectivity. And it was interesting when he said, I was in a volcano, I had 4G, and one of the gentlemen in the back said, no, we don't want that. But that is actually a generation gap, and that's something that we can't ignore. So again, the generation gap has to be addressed. We have to understand the next generation, and if they want the 3-star hotels, then we have to give them the 3-star hotels. So I think the bottleneck is, at the moment, is the hotels.
Right.
Fully agree with Jamal on this. What we are lacking is basically a moderate pricing properties. We have a couple of properties in Muscat City, but as a resort, we don't have. And since we are focusing more on the European market or Russian market, which is recently Oman has started flying into Russia, and I'm sure these clients definitely look for a beach properties than any other city hotels. So this is something which we need to develop in the future. And again, with the earlier panelist, the Accor Group, that is a segmentation which really we can see with the Accor Group properties. We need to have different segmentation on this part, apartments, either 3-star, 4-star. Again, when it comes to the location-wise, we need to have the infrastructure developed for that.
Right.
This is something which we need to look at as far as the accommodation, this thing.
Okay, that was a general question. Before entering into more details, I would like to give the opportunity to each of you to present yourself quickly and just explaining what you are doing, actually, especially for the new concept that both of you are developing. So, Luwaina, maybe we start.
Well, I'm the founder and CEO of Envago. It's an online marketplace for adventure travel. I've started this company because being in a beautiful country like Oman, there's huge potential in terms of what we can do here. My aim is to target the new generation, the generation of experiences, the millennials, and to try and give them, or basically promote Oman and Middle East in general through online platforms. This generation is all about images, videos, connectivity, and authentic experiences. And I feel that that's lacking in Oman and in Middle East in general. So that's what I'm doing.
Is it safe to say that you try somehow to turn something virtual in the social media into reality, pushing the guests basically to take the step and do adventure tourism?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, when I started speaking to a lot of providers in Oman and also customers, I would go to Matrah and talk to a lot of new travelers and who come to Oman, and it was very hard for them to find information and content online. And what they would use is social media to find the inspirations. So why not bring that language into the booking platform and give them those inspiration, but also convert them into bookings? So that's what I'm trying to do. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Louis. Cashew?
Hi, my name is Cashew. I head Kimchi House of Travel, which is part of Kimchi Ramdas Group, Oman. Of course, we are a travel consortium company. We are into all outbound, dedicated outbound department, travel department, incoming department, which looks after the MICE events, as well as the normal leisure travel to Oman. We also work along with the Ministry of Tourism to promote Oman into different destinations. The key thing is we are also Lufthansa Citizen partner in Oman, which is one of the biggest franchisee of travel tour operators worldwide, especially in Europe and Germany. So that is something, an advantage for us to bring more Europeans into this Oman market.
So this is Majid Al-Washahi. I am the co-founder and the CEO of GuideGate. So GuideGate basically is a platform, an online platform that connects tourists with the local guide, starting from the infrastructure or the challenges that have been faced in the market by the tourist. I remember a year ago I was walking Matrah and talking to travelers and tourists in Matrah about the challenges and the most significant thing they couldn't find here in Oman or in Matrah. And their answer was we couldn't find the local stories and the local content about the places and even about the people who are living there. So that's where GuideGate came from, connecting the tourist to the local guide and providing a focus on the local stories, on the local content about these places and these significant people on the cities or even the rural countries. So what we have heard like recently or even for more than 2 years now, most of the new technologies, they are focusing on changing the way of travel, changing the way of people travel. And the answer is, why would you change the way of travel, and you would rather enable the people to travel the way they like, to meet the people they like, the like-minded people, or even to book their preferred guides or preferred packages based on their own preferences. So that's basically what we have been doing for almost a year, and actually we are launching during this week the platform, and hopefully that will be a good connectivity between the tourist and the local guides and the local stories that they tell.
I'm Jamal Iski. I'm the country manager for Oman Air in Oman. Previously, just before that, I was the country manager in the UK and Ireland. So Oman was launched in 1992. There was a change of ownership in 2008, and the strategy changed. It went from a regional carrier to an international carrier. We work very closely with the Ministry of Tourism to explore new markets, to bring tourism into Oman, and provide a convenient mode of transport or direct option for Omanis to travel to the various countries as well. Apart from the Ministry of Tourism, we work very closely with the travel agents, and from the international perspective, coming in, we work with what we call DMCs or inbound tourism companies. We are going through quite an interesting phase. We are investing heavily in technology, whether it's systems, whether it's online booking engines, data. Data is a massive thing at the moment in most organizations, and it's just as important in an airline to segment your customers. You know who they are, you know what they spend. And it was interesting what Lujena said about the millennials. That is a massive segment that's growing in Oman, and we can see it on our online bookings, where the contribution used to grow by about 1-2% per year. In the past 3 years, we've seen it grow 5%, 7% year on year. So it's definitely interesting times for us.
My name is Jonathan Stearns. I'm a partner here at Mazars. It's an international company, has about 20,000 employees, top 10 in the world. What we do is audit, assurance, tax, and we just launched a new service called Invest in Oman, which is company formation, from just forming the company all the way down to helping do the Omanization plan for the ministry requirements. But the reason why I'm here today is our other service line, which is management and consultancy. So this past year, we actually had 2 projects that we were involved in. One was Muscat Festival, and we developed a whole new strategy for the Muscat Festival to help increase the effectiveness of it and make it actually a solvent tourist attraction. And part of that is our recommendation to actually leverage that for the international tourist. Make it an actual tourist attraction that people would come from the region and come and visit here. The other project that we were involved with is the Expo 2020 Dubai. Oman had decided that they want to try to maximize the impact that mega event can have on Oman. So we had a consulting contract that was looking at quantifying how many people could we expect and what would be the economic impact. Then we were to do a marketing plan to increase the people to come from Dubai and encourage them to visit Oman during their trip. And then the other 2 was to do an audit of the tourist facilities that are specifically in the Northern Governorate, and how can we attract, maximize those facilities to attract people to come from Dubai, specifically driving. And then the last one was to look at the borders, the land borders, and what improvements to the actual border has to happen, as well as visas and the processes.
Thank you. My name is Thierry Perrault, and I'm the regional director for Oman, IAG company. IAG has about 5,520 hotels worldwide, has also about 1 million rooms, and we've been in Oman for 40 years plus. We have 3 brands that are represented in Oman: Intercontinental and Muscat. We have also Crown Plaza, 5 Crown Plaza, located in Salalah, in Duqm, as well as Sohar, and in Muscat, of course, and 1 Holiday Inn. We're very proud, and I'm very especially proud because I'm based in Intercontinental Muscat. We were the first company to open an international hotel in Oman, the famous Intercontinental Muscat, 41 years ago, and proud for His Majesty to have signed a contract with us. And we will continue developing the destination, as we believe there's a big need in bringing other hotels, especially on the medium tier, that don't see too much exposure. I'm here. I'm part of the environment and bringing for the tourism, for the visitors, for anyone coming on business, the infrastructure, and we will talk a little bit about what happened in our rooms over years. What's the need today of the travelers? Pleased to be here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So my first question, I would say, all of you guys are part of the value chain, you are part of the industry. Maybe the only one that is a bit external is you, Jonathan. So my first question will be for you. Bouncing back on Expo 2020, it's a major event for all the region, not only Emirates, not only Dubai, it will be for the whole region. So how can we tap into this? How can we maximize the number of visits here in Oman that will be deriving from this event in UAE? And as you rightly say, our subject is infrastructure. How ready are we to welcome those tourists? What could be improved? What is missing? Please, Jonathan, we are listening to you.
So part of our thing was to develop the marketing plan for attracting these people. In doing that, we have, like you mentioned before, opening up Europe. Europe, Russia, China are the three of the 6 main countries that we focus on. When you look at those 3 countries, they have a different perception of what is expected when they take a tourist trip to a country. And so that was one of the things that we looked at is how does an international tourist, as we call it, meaning outside of the region, how would they view the facilities as they come across them through the country? One very good example is gas stations. In Europe and in America, which is my experience with gas stations, people see these locations as saviors. If they need to call somebody, they go to a gas station. If they need directions because they got lost, they go to the gas station. If a child is screaming because they need to go to the bathroom, they go to a gas station. That is the association that they have with these locations. So when we did our audit between here and the Wajaja border, I made sure to focus on the gas stations as well because that was, even though it was outside the scope. For example, there is, out of the 42 gas stations, about 60% don't even have a little icon showing that there's a bathroom there. And I don't even know how many actually have bathrooms there. We didn't go through every one. But Shell Station, for example, does not have any icons on their signs. So if someone was looking for a telephone or ATM or a bathroom, they have no guidance on where should they go. So what the Ministry of Transportation, the petrol station companies, we met with all 3 of those, they're looking at right now how can they upgrade their gas stations. The petrol companies are looking at maybe they can set standards that the gas stations have to renovate to meet, to bring it to a level that would satisfy this international tourist. Another thing we found is the tourist attendants don't necessarily speak English. So if you go there asking for directions, that person's not going to get it from that situation. They might not even understand what direction they are. They only know the location of that location and they know their village. But they don't necessarily might not have the answers about anything else that you're looking for. So what we had recommended in our study was to actually take some of these gas stations and improve them to tourism service centers. And with that, you would increase the level of knowledge of that gas attendant, increase his language skills, increase the amount of products and services that are offered in that location, and make it as standardized. So if they go to one, they will know what to expect of the next one. So that was just one example of the project that we had in that. The other 2 things I'd like to say with how to attract more people. We did a neuromarketing research for focus groups in Dubai and in Saudi Arabia, in Riyadh. We showed them the marketing collateral that the Ministry of Tourism is currently utilizing. And you know what the response was? This is amazing. This country is beautiful. I had no idea that's there. So what that taught us is the collateral is good. The message is good. The problem that they found is the lack of market exposure. And then the last thing we really pushed with this strategy on Expo is we are the only country in the region that has culture, heritage, and the outdoor adventures. I don't necessarily mean adventure, but outdoor activities. So those are the 3 things that need to be really hounded upon, whether you're even going for the business tourist or the individual tourist. Those are the 3 things that actually have to be put forward because it's the only thing that no other country in the region can actually put forward. So we could win a big market just on that alone.
But is there like a plan to make some collaterals, to prepare brochures for specifically targeting at the tourist being in Emirates and traveling to Oman?
Yes, so we are now, we've been awarded the contract to implement this over the next 18 months. So we're project managing over 10 different entities. And one of those things is to come up with self-guided itineraries. I know that Her Excellency mentioned there's itineraries on the website, and it's just expounding upon that. So if somebody does drive down from Dubai to Oman, they will have this little booklet, and it'll give them a map telling them where to go. It'll tell them where the gas stations are. It'll give them GPS locations so that they can find their way. But just to make it as easy as possible for them to decide at the last minute, you know what, I want to go to Oman. Now, how do we get them the last minute? Is we developed a very comprehensive marketing plan. The Ministry of Tourism, ITHRA, and MOTC, Ministry of Commerce and Industry, they're all going to be involved in doing a very detailed marketing plan in Dubai and in other countries spread out the world to try to encourage people to, when you come to the expo, add Oman onto it. So we're actually estimating about a 1.5 nights to 2 nights just being added on to their 5-day trip to Dubai.
Right. Typically, maybe a question for Thierry, length of stay. I mean, that's one of the key drivers in the country to improve maybe the length of stay. What's the average length of stay for your people in your hotel?
We have about 2.7 length of stay. We have guests returning over the last 25 years, twice a year. They've enjoyed so much the first time they were here that they cannot stop coming back. What could we do to enlarge or to add some more days on this length of stay is to make Oman very seamless in terms of reservation, but also in terms of going to places and finding things in good place. We still have comments from guests to say the taxi issues is an issue. They feel that they're not, it's not transparent. There could be some issues as well of overcharging. It's been addressed, and I'm glad to see that the ministry have taken the lead into put a bit of order. But that's coming. Also, with this magnificent airport just being opened, it's just an amazing response from the customers and the clients who said, I'm going to come more often, and plus there's so many beautiful things to visit and to see in Oman. So to add more infrastructure, when you go abroad, I mean outside in the mountain, on the resorts, you need to see quality. And one topic I want to also address is the issue of the sustainability business as well as the quality of the asset. And I'm speaking for myself very much concerned because 41 years old hotel has been the most famous place in Oman. Everything has happened there. Visitors have been absolutely staying with us all the time. Property are aging. So we need to review and then upgrade and renovate hotels to offer the comfort that the guests will expect even in Oman. So basically, it is what's happening in our hotel, in Intercontinental. We are renovating the 40-year-old lady, and then we are in the process to send another level of experience through what we call a curated experience. Curated experience is something that we launched in Intercontinental brand, so to create a reason for guests to say, I'm not just sleeping and visiting maybe the port or maybe the mosque, but also I heard there are some interesting things to visit. If you put this part of the journey, the experience for the guest, they'll go back home, they'll become an ambassador, and that will help very much returning guests, but also people to visit Oman. So these are very important to us.
Right. Coming back on the infrastructure, because this is the main subject of our panel. Do we have the right infrastructure? How can we improve it? What is missing? My question is for the 3 bricks of the infrastructure, yourself, Casio, Jamal, and Thierry. So, tour operator, travel agencies, airline, hotels. How do you work together? Is there any coordination between all of you guys? Is there any loophole? Is there anything missing in the guest experience that could be added in this overall value chain?
I just wanted to go back to the question what you asked earlier, the average number of nights. We as a DMC able to answer that in a better way because we know it's not only Muscat they're staying at the outskirts as well. So it is around 4 to 5 nights is the average number of nights they spend in Oman. I just wanted to, all together.
Well, that's also very short. How
Yeah.
can you pretend visit Oman in 4 to 5 days?
Yeah,
It's
it's
just
but
impossible.
at least we will be able to cover the regions which is close to Muscat, like Jabal Akhtar or the Sur or the Wahiba Sands. This is what we normally do, and 2 nights in Muscat. So, okay. Coming back to the joint work with the airline. I'm sure that Oman Air also has got a dedicated department to look after the MICE movements to Oman, to the Amarai Jamal.
Yes, correct.
Yes, okay. So if there is a group, if there is a more number of passengers to give them the better deals and better promote the destinations, we also work quite close with Oman Air and move forward. And this department helps us a lot to get the best deals on the airfare as well. So we sell it as a complete package. To our customers or the tour operators based in Italy and Germany and France. And this is what we do from our side.
Right. From your side, Jamal?
Yeah, I think our relationship is, we have a healthy relationship with the properties in Oman. We have a good relationship with the travel agents, but it's not just here. So in Oman, I have a relationship with KMG House of Travel, and I have a relationship with the properties in Oman here as well. But KMG House of Travel will also have a relationship with, for example, let's say Kowani in the UK. And they will also have a relationship with Oman. So it's really a 360-degree relationship. It's not just in Oman. To bring tourists into Oman, it's the relationships in Oman and out of Oman. So I think we have that all. We work together, we have exhibitions together, we have events together, we have roadshows, overseas to bring tourists into Oman.
But Jamal, listening to you, it appears to me like everything is working quite well. If you have to name 2, 3 improvements, is there anything to improve?
I'll speak from my experience when I was in the UK. We used to generate a high number of tourists to come to Oman, and then all of a sudden, when the properties in Oman see the flow increasing, they bump up the price, which is normal. It's something you expect. It's a business model. But I think maybe we need to meet halfway somewhere. We need to promote Oman. We need to say, okay, yes, we do need to, make money. At the end of the day, the hotels are our business. But how do we promote Oman? How do we bring more tourists into Oman? The airline has to work with the travel agent overseas. Then the airline has to work, or the travel agent has to work with the DMC. The DMC has to work with the various hotels in Oman. I think it's just saying that we work together or we have a perfect synergy among each other is easier said than done. We've been trying to work with the Ministry of Tourism. I'm not sure there's anybody left Ministry of Tourism. We've been trying to work for a long time. We hear this word, let's align, let's work together. And we do, we align, but somewhere along the line, somebody sort of veers off. So it is easier said than done. And I've personally been trying to do this for the past 9 years. And it is difficult. Every organization, every commercial or business house wants to make money. And I think my biggest challenge in the UK was the cost of the stay in Oman.
Right. So what would you like to say to Thierry? He's here. Is the Intercontinental Muscat. How could you improve that? Everybody knows hotels in Oman are very expensive.
Yeah, hotels
compared
are expensive.
To the rest of hotels in the world.
Hotels are expensive, and sometimes when you're selling a package to Oman and the night, one night is 200 riyals, I think that's a stumbling point.
Right.
Not just for the airline, but even for the DMCs.
Yes. Yeah.
Let Thierry.
All right, so no more 200 Omani Riyal per night. It's definitely going down to the 70s, 80s, 100 as an average. But I think we are ready to do a lot more. I mean, in fact, you mentioned some trade road and going to Russian, etc. We need to continue this. We're not doing enough, and joint venture with aviation, with definitely Oman Air, is needed. One thing as well that we need to develop is that we have a beautiful, one of the most beautiful convention center in this part of the world. How much are we attracting for events that will come
for 5 days, 3 days exhibition, and then stay longer or come back earlier and come back because the country has so much to offer. So we are not going enough on this. If you look back the calendar for the next 3 years in terms of exhibition, international exhibition, you'll be disappointed. And then it's something we need to work much harder on this. Now, in terms of visa as well, I believe that we have also to open, to think about, I know we want a certain quality and certain population to come and stay in Oman. Absolutely agree. We do not want the mass market, definitely not. We are not prepared for that. Plus, it will not benefit Oman overall. It will be a shock, a cultural shock, which we don't want in hotel as well. But what can we do to make it easier for inbound traveler to come? Because at the moment, I'm often traveling, and I can say that a lot of flight that I take, I see from Zurich as an example, they all transiting to Muscat. I need to see a lot more guests coming and spending time in Oman. We have a duty to do to develop the destination.
So that's a fantastic transition for my next question about visas. Basically, a cornerstone of infrastructure is basically a flexible and adapted regulatory framework. As you know, 10FEES has been pushing to open visas to more nationalities, especially Indians, especially Russians, and Chinese. So I would like to ask you, you are in the in your daily operation, do you see any impact? Do you see more Indians, Chinese, Russian coming? And how is it working in the real life? Is it really easy to bring them over?
So I think with the Russians, it's a bit too early for us in Oman to decide. We only launched the flights, I think, a week ago. But we have seen the Indian traffic increase, or the right term would be change. We used to have a different segment coming into Oman. Now we're able to tap into the tourist segment because they're able to come to Oman. They're able to get a visa. They're able to come and visit. So yes, we have seen a positive impact with the business coming in from India. In China, I think maybe Kashi will be able to sort of shed more light on this. I think there was a language barrier.
Yes.
But if you can...
I think the Royal Oman Police has done an exceptionally great job on the visa systems now. For the last 8 months, I think it's fantastically doing well. Even the systems, it's so quick. Within 10 minutes, we can get the visas for most of the nationalities, even if we apply through online. So, and on top of that, for the Russians, Iran, and China, I think visa on arrival now, and that also facilitate more number of traffic from this part of the world. China, the issue we faces is the language. We need to have the people, the guides, into speaking those kind of languages, or we need to bring someone. At the moment, we need to bring someone from Dubai to cater those kind of requirements. This is what we are doing it at the moment. It's a small. At the moment, it's a very small numbers, but I'm sure that in the future.
Which kind of numbers? Tell us more. Like
it's just started. Even Japanese market also just started now.
Right.
You know, we can't say that we are doing. You know, we got around 3 to 4 bookings with 8 or 9 people. That's it.
Yeah, that's quite limited.
Yeah. We had a few exhibitions here with the Ministry of Tourism, trying to get a different travel agents from China in Oman, just to see Oman and experience it in the hope that you'll see the numbers coming in. But the language was a main concern.
So the language is the main issue. What else is like a showstopper? What is blocking? Do we need more openness and flexibility in the regulation? Do we need more to do on the visas? What is missing to bring those people? Because once Chinese, for example, will come, there are 1 billion people. If only 1% of them is visiting Oman, you will be overflowed. So
we need to go back to our strategy and see that whether are we looking at a mass market or are we looking for a quality. Based on that, we need to take a call. You know, we had a discussion with the Ministry of Tourism also last year when they wanted to bring the MICE or this kind of groups from China, and there was a discussion, and they are looking for cheaper accommodations. They will go for 3-star. The maximum is 4-star. Only very limited numbers will go for the 5-star deluxe properties. So the budget is almost $100. That is what they are looking at. And do we have a infrastructure to accommodate them? That is what we need to look at it.
Right. Okay, now talking a bit more about technologies. So Majid, Lujaina, how do you see yourself contributing into developing tourism in Oman and tapping or increasing the numbers of visitors in Oman? Can you give us some concrete examples about your technology? How can you support the sector?
So just basically before I go to your question, I will talk a little bit about the collaboration between the different sectors and the giants at the tourism and travel sector. So technologies and solutions and startups at the travel and tourism sector are driven by data, driven by the information that's fed by the giants who are having the reports about travelers, who are having the retention about how many nights they have stayed with us. And these have been missed out from our market. There is a lack on the data and the information from the private sector especially. And this is what I would like to focus more on, just to collaborate as a private sector.
So basically sharing the data, is it what you ask?
Yes, as an open source.
Should you ask Oman Air to give you their database of
I think
visitors?
Being a national carrier, we have to follow the EU laws and data protection laws. Sharing data is easier said than done. I think it's all about creating your own database, partnering with other organizations, but getting data, it's easier said than done.
Yes, but actually, the other marketplaces, we can't find them. We can't find the data other than Oman. If you go to the European marketplace, you'll find plenty of open sources data you can analyze and indicate what's your goals in this market. So actually, it is not about privacy. You can anonymize the data about the users, and can be open source to the...
Is it some kind of partnership that maybe your technology should maybe bind with Oman Air, with the travel agent or properties ahead of the travel, that the guest is actually being aware about you, about your technology, and then you get the data along the way?
That's exactly, and it is a very important infrastructure of building solutions for travelers. It's very important. And it can be controlled as we have seen by the National Center of Information. They have been providing data open source lately in the tourism sector, and it's very important, and it's huge. We have been using lately. It's very important. Talking about your
contribution to
our contribution to the tourism and travel sector, it's mainly by just analyzing this data and creating solutions. As I said, when I was in Matarah, I just met around 30 travelers in a week, and their main challenges meeting local peoples and finding local stories about these peoples in the region. We have not been aware about this until we talk to them.
So Majid, can you explain to us, how do we get a guide? I mean, how is it working? I'm connecting on your hub, and how do I know if this guide is certified by the ministry? Is he well trained? Which kind of field does he know? Which area? Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so GuideGate, basically, it's, we have a profile for guide. They have to upload their license within the platform, and we verify them with collaboration with the Ministry of Tourism. This is in Oman, but outside of Oman, we find it much easier because most of the guides and the local guides are freelancers, and they don't even have to have a license to operate. But here in Oman, you can find a guide, you can find the packages that are advertised by the guide within the platform. It is just guidegate.com, and we are launching the platform and the app during this week. So yeah, that is it.
Right. I know it's not the subject. Training. Who is training the guides? Where are they trained? Is it like in OTC or where?
Yeah, so we are collaborating with the OTC in the next couple of months to give training, a full half-day training for guides, and then to be a certified guide by the platform itself.
Right.
Yeah.
Excellent. Lujaina, how do you see yourself contributing into the development of the sector?
I think the biggest problem we have here, in my point of view, is scalability. There's no doubt Oman has the nature, has all the potential to attract people coming in. But something is wrong with the formula. And what I see from basically the experience we had with the providers and also travelers is, number one, as you said, the regulations in terms of the visa. That's a barrier. And I think the government is taking care of that, and we need to see how it goes. The other problem is content. When people want to visit Oman, they don't know what to do in Oman. If you just Google things to do in Oman, you can get, but not in a way that's connected to booking or people that you can actually book with them. When we travel anywhere around the world, you just go to the street and you get different kind of content there that tells you where the map is. You know, you can get maps, you can get direction, you can get information to the places you want to go. It's very difficult even in hotels. You can't just go and pick the different kind of activities that's happening in the country in that period of time. So I think content is a problem. We need to create more content for people.
Who, in your view, should do that?
I think it's a collaboration of all. Government needs to play its role. Private sector also needs to play their role. Private sector is a profit-making, organization. So for them to attract more people, they need to create those marketing content. The government, to attract more people and increase the GDP, need to play their role. The other part, I think, is the accommodation and hotel. For me, for example, I'm attracting the young millennials. Yes. They can't afford the hotels we are offering. And one of the things I heard Her Excellency said, we're attracting responsible travelers. But people need to understand what that means in terms of the persona of the people we're attracting. The nature is there, which you would think that attracts, adventure, outdoor travelers. But then the hotel, it tells you something different. You're attracting the luxury. So there's kind of a gap there that we need to close. My role, the reason why I started this is we have a lot of small businesses in Oman, the outdoor companies, the tour guides. But the way they're marketing their business in Oman, it's still very, in terms of the social media and WhatsApp. WhatsApp is very big in Oman. So people don't find them. It's very hard to be found by people from Europe or Russia or China. So there must be the digital world, or the online platform needs to be really developed. And I feel that's the role I can play, is how to promote that online.
Right, like a kind of focal point where you could find all the content, all the contacts.
Yes,
to organize.
yes, and to promote those small businesses.
Again, we have an hotelier here. What would you like to tell him in terms of positioning of the offers? Basically, what you are saying is that there are maybe too many 5 stars in Oman, and not this kind of properties that are not a matter of stars. It's not a matter of 4-star, 3-star. It's a matter of the positioning of the property, more lifestyle, more oriented to the young people. Is it something that Cherry could be coming to Oman?
Yeah. I mean, for me, what I see, they could be always the 5-star hotel, but we need to also develop to the level of hostels. That's where people, or camps, where you can go and just camp. But even the camps in Wahiba Desert, they charge like it's a 5-star hotel. So it's very hard.
I agree that pricing is an obstacle.
Yeah, especially
but
when it comes to
pricing is not just to be taken separately. Overall, things cost. Labor cost. There's this mechanism, this in the equation, where you cannot just take away the pricing and says, I'm going to fix it, I'm going to be the 120 or 150 or many real going to go down to 80, 90, but then a bottom line will not appear, and then you have to think about how can we make a more effective bottom line from an owner point of view. So we have to look at this, because you're right, when you see next door, an hour from here, what the price they are practicing in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, is definitely a market that it's a different market. Definitely, the people going there for different reasons. But there is an obstacle for people to say, I'm not going to spend. I need 3,000 Omani Riyal for my 5-day stay here. It's a lot of money. I'll consider some of the destinations in the world, and it's definitely an obstacle. And we need to work on this.
Yeah, and I think it's an issue of the volume. I'm an economist. I look at basic supply and demand. It's a volume. When you don't have the volume, your costs will always be high. So the government needs to also play that role where they increase the volume. So people see opportunity, investors, small businesses, they see opportunity in, reducing the price, so the demand can, will increase. But we are not able to scale. For example, for my business, if I would focus only on Oman, I won't be able to sustain, because it's still, with scalability, is very challenging. So I think as the volume increases, more people are coming, more competition in the market. Hopefully the prices will
So it's a very good point, talking about the volume. So for you, Jamal, airlines, we see the numbers of visitors increasing to Oman, but we all know that there's a lot of transit. So I would like Jamal to tell us transparently how many people are actually staying in Oman and not only doing a transit, and how could we, you as an airline, try to find some tricks to push them to stay. Like with timings, for example. Some airlines do that. You are arriving very late, you are not going to make your transit right away. You stay one day in the city, and by the way, you go and visit the city. So tell us more about that.
Okay, in terms of volume, it's actually quite transparent. We publish it. We have a 60-40 ratio. 60% of the passengers on Oman are transiting. So
60%?
It's what we call, yeah.
So more than people staying?
Yes.
Yes, it's called flow traffic, but I'm coming down. The other 40% is what we call the point-to-point. Those numbers will include everybody else in this room who probably live in Oman. How do you differentiate who is a tourist or not? We usually get the data from the Ministry of Tourism. Again, there's always a gray area. A lot of people come to Oman on tourist visas, but they're not coming here for tourism. They're coming here to visit friends and family. Again, in terms of segmenting the market, friends and family are not the people who will benefit, the hotels or the economy. They'll go and sit with their parents. If people have children who live abroad, they will come in on a tourist visa. So it's very difficult to say exactly how many tourists come in. The Ministry of Tourism can give you a rough idea, and they probably have the most accurate numbers, which they get from the ROP. So those are the numbers we have. This is Oman Air. Then most other airlines are technically what we call P2P or point-to-point. They don't really transit the people leaving, Oman on a holiday and coming back. So it's really difficult to give the numbers, but do you know the numbers off the top of your head? How many tourists came to Oman last year? You don't have the number. Okay. Yeah, but to answer. Oh, yeah, she's good. She got it divided. Yeah. Okay. So basically we have about 60%, which we call flow traffic.
Right. How do we make this figure going down? How do we make them stay?
We have a lot of initiatives. We had an initiative about 4 or 5 years ago, which we would provide a stopover for free in Oman. The hotels in Oman would provide one night for free, and then the customers would pay for the next.
Why did you stop that?
I'll get there. So I'll get to it. The idea was to get a number of hotels involved. Fortunately, it ended up being 2 hotels in Oman, and I'll name the 2 hotels who actually worked with us. It was the Shangri-La, and the Grand Hormuz. They continued working with us, and the Shangri-La still work with Oman Air for the stopovers. So they would provide a very competitive rate to encourage people to stop over. So those are the ideas we came up with, and we used to market it. So I remember again when I was in the UK, it was a big thing. It was, if somebody called the reservation, the agent would automatically say, "Oh, we have a free stopover," and we saw numbers increase. Again, numbers increase. People got what's a polite word for greedy? So the prices,
own interest.
The prices went up, and eventually we only had the Shangri-La and the Hormuz working with us. So we do have those initiatives.
Right. Any other thought? I mean, is it something that you are going to push, or is it like just
We're more than willing to push it. To be fair, the Minister of Tourism worked with us on this initiative. We both jointly promoted the initiative. At the end of the day, the Minister of Tourism and Oman can meet the different hotels and encourage them to work with us. They are businesses.
You have Thierry
I'm
here.
happy-
Thierry,
I'm happy to sit down.
Are you ready to offer one free night?
We have 4 hotels in Muscat. I'm happy to sit down, definitely to see. No, because we have to
we're ready
take
to work.
initiative,
We're ready
right?
to work, yeah.
Maybe Casio from your side.
The
from
other thing,
TO
one thing which
and
I would like to make a note is how we can make the destination as a round-the-year destination. At the moment, the maximum revenue for the incoming business, it starts from October till April.
Well, I can tell you, we cannot change the sun and the weather. It's
Well,
unfortunately very seasonal.
but let me tell you that is the Russians, the Scandinavians, even Scandinavian flights are getting into Salalah now, the charter flight operation. So we can create this destination as a family destination. There is nothing for the children as a family. Even if you take it as Chedia Hotel, Al Hussein, we won't be able to accommodate the children over there. So these are the things, restrictions what we have. So we should try and see that what best can be done to create this kind of environment and round the year. Even this summer we had a good time, except 1 month I think. If you look at the local, because of the geopolitical situation or whatever it is, we had quite a good number from the region itself in coming to Oman.
Bouncing back on the length of stay, basically, it's maybe a question for you, Cashew, and you, Jonathan. How is it happening that travel agencies are selling packages somehow where you see in the Middle East, it's always people traveling to Emirates, and as an add-on, they will come and visit Oman for 1 or 2 days. How can we just reverse that and convince people to come to Oman, visit Oman for their main, and do 1 or 2 days in Dubai only?
It is changing now. Earlier it was like that. Now people prefer to spend more number of nights in Oman, and maybe the last leg they will have to do it in Dubai for shopping or whatever it is, and flying back.
Right.
It's getting, even last month I was there in Germany. The things are getting, the awareness are growing. There are a lot of improvement in the awareness. So what we can offer, even our packages are also 6 nights minimum in Oman. The packages which we designed for the European market is 6 nights in Oman. But for the Gulf, the GCC market, it may be 1 hotel, 3 nights or 4 nights. We do that based on the requirement of the market.
Is this something that you see, Jonathan?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is as mentioned earlier, is market exposure. If you look at the oil price going down, the ministries across the board, their budgets got cut dramatically. So how is that same ministry supposed to do the marketing campaigns across their target markets at the same level that they did before? And I think that's, to be honest, the biggest problem we have is they just need to increase the number of touches with the potential target markets.
Great. You wanted to add something?
Yeah, I just wanted to say 2 things. One about Dubai and making Oman a year-round market. I think the problem is and we all like numbers. The problem is it's us. We tell people, oh, come in Oman in winter. Don't come in summer, it's too hot. But if you look at and if you look at numbers, you look at Europe, what's the #1 destination in Europe? Spain, Cyprus, Italy, Greece. If you look at the temperatures in summer and compare those temperatures to the temperatures in Oman, you're thinking, what are we doing? Oman is actually cooler on some days than these destinations. So it's us who started promoting Oman in winter only. Dubai is promoted as a year-round destination.
Comparing between Dubai as a city and Oman as a country. Oman is different than Dubai. Dubai is just for investing, shopping. There is no nature. There is no, they don't have what we have. So we respect Dubai as a Dubai city, but there is no comparing between Dubai and Oman. You cannot compare. And also, we are trying to do our best. But if you are looking for the booking in hotels, the rooms are extremely full. Because sometimes when we ask, we have like a campaign with Oman Air to bring bloggers, journalists, media. So private sector are helping us a lot as the DMCs and hotels. They are providing FOC. And nowadays we are, increasing like numbers of tourists, but there is a problem with, I think, airlines.
Jamal?
Airlines, we have not like a problems
time up?
for France. For France. France only we have a direct flight from Oman Air. We don't have Air France. We don't have jet flights to Muscat. And we have a charters like Italy. We have a campaign with charters flights from Italy to Salalah, and now we will start charters from Russia. So market, yeah, it's coming. It's increasing number of tourists. Cruising also.
That is something which we missed out to mention about cruising. There is a
Yeah.
lot of potential. What we need to do, we need to gear up our ports to do the embarkation and disembarkation from here, and extend the stay either pre-cruising or post-cruising in Oman. This is something which we have a lot of potential by doing it in Muscat.
We see that in hotels.
Also,
Sorry.
we have a representative in Netherlands, but we don't have direct flights.
Oh, you have KLM.
And yes, we have, but increasing the number of flying to the destinations, that's mean increasing the number of tourists. Like Germany, we have Lufthansa, we have Ryanair, we have many other airlines,
So basically you are saying the connectivity is
Daily,
very
yeah,
important.
connectivity of the airlines is making a lot of changes of the number of tourists.
The experience of the cruise, staying a couple of hours only, has been fantastic. I mean, I keep seeing these guests coming and then saying, wow, this is beautiful. And they also return, not in big numbers, but if you would add one night and visit in Muscat and the surrounding, that would be very powerful.
Some of them, they just stop their cruising in Muscat. They stay one night and then they leaving from Oman. They're leaving from Oman. So
Well, that's like the best case scenario, because most of the crews, the people are going down on the Corniche. They go to the souk and back in the boat,
and
so
some
it's
of
very
them they
short.
go to Nizwa and come back within one day, so they can arrange with the Zahara. I think they already took this cruising.
We too are part of it, actually.
Yeah. And yes, we are working to increase the number of tourists. We have for I think 1 year ago or 2 years ago, Alila, they launch a campaign, 50 degrees cooler.
Yes.
So people in summer, they can go to the Jabal Akhdar and stay nights and days spending in the resort instead of staying in Sharqiya or in Muscat, because of the degrees is very high.
Right.
But they can also go to Musandam and go to Salalah. We have a variety of activities.
Right.
Snorkeling, diving, trekking. So yes, I don't think there is a problem in Oman, and Oman is a niche market.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a perfect transition.
My name is Charles Shaw from a company called Bondoni. I've known Oman for a good sort of 35, 36 years. I've also set up a tour operating company in London specializing in Oman. So I have a reasonable amount of experience. I also had the fortune of working with the CEO program on the tourism sector there. And it's great to see the technology is taking off here. However, I think we've slightly missed the point this morning, if I might say so. We've been talking about infrastructure, and we've been focusing on airlines, great, and hotels, great. And to be honest with you, what we want to do is to fill the airlines, and we also want to fill the rooms in the hotels. It doesn't matter whether the hotel is a 3-star, 4-star, or 5-star. We've got to have a reason for people to come to Oman, and what are they going to do? The content. The question is, we know the content in this country. We've got an enormous amount to do. People go to Dubai and they stay in hotels in Dubai because they have a defined market. There are lots of things to do. Here in Oman, there's far more to do. There are far more interesting things to do in Oman, both culturally, adventure, community tourism, you name it. We've got so much more to offer than Oman. So now we've been, than Dubai. So now we've been talking about infrastructure, airlines and hotels. Actually, what I think that infrastructure should be focusing on is deep into Oman. It is what to do. So in other words, go into and do your adventure tourism. By the way, combine adventure tourism with community tourism. Her Excellency spoke about Misfat Abra'in. There's a wonderful place in Misfat Abra'in, which is a guest house. There's another place in Balad Sait, who is trying to do the same. There are so many communities in this country that want to be entrepreneurial, but they're not being allowed to. They need support from the highest side, but equally they need money and they need recognition and they need the support to start this adventure stroke community tourism. I put the two together, by the way. Adventure and community must go together. Yeah. And what this is doing, it is going to help the Omanis first and foremost, because then the Omanis will then take pride in bringing people into their communities. There's Balad Sait. There's one particular very proud Omani family who I know well. They have just set up a restaurant, a guest house with a little mat'am, with a restaurant there. But these three boys, the 3 out of the 5 sons, they're also rock climbing instructors. So let's try and give these guys, who rarely deserve it, the opportunity to give them the infrastructure so that they can develop their community and their adventure and the true entrepreneurism, which there is masses of in the deserts and the mountains in this country. So that's what I think we should, we're talking infrastructure, spend more of the infrastructure money, please, in the communities, deep into the deserts and into the mountains, rather than just here in Muscat. Do you know what, I don't care whether there's a question or there's a comment, but please take my comments away from me. I honestly think the questions are, the comment is, stop just talking about airlines and hotels. We've got to fill those airlines, we've got to fill the hotels, and the only way that we're going to be doing it is to ensure that we've got things to do in this country. Right. And the infrastructure should be focused on that area rather than just on the general things that we've been talking about today.
Just to comment on what the gentleman just said, I fully agree with you. The thing is, the platforms, the organizations are in place, they do exist, and these organizations can drive business to the family you're speaking of. I think the issue is maybe the Ministry of Tourism needs to form some cell to go to these families, educate them, and say, look, we have the platforms, we have, and a lot of the bookings today come through from the technology. You have the, advertising. I know some people who own old houses as well in Nizwa, and they were advertising in newspapers and advertising in the newspapers in Dubai. Newspapers don't get anywhere. We need to have something to guide them in the right way to help them succeed.
There are 2 ways of doing that, if I might add. First of all, I agree that the ministry should be supporting and providing the umbrella for to encourage this to happen. But we've got to also empower the sons and the fathers and the young and the old to make the decisions themselves. And I've seen this successfully happen in this country. Misfat Abra'in is one, Balad Sait is another, where it is up to the younger generations to sit down with the elder generations who are conservative and they don't want change, but it's up to the sons and daughters to convince the parents that actually change is good. And that is successful, it's happened here. So I think with a combination of the Ministry of Transport, giving them that support, but empower the families to persuade the older generations to do the same. The combination works.
I think Her Excellency has mentioned this morning, what we need to focus is the region-wise or cluster-wise infrastructure development along with the people. That is what finally we are going to get these results, what you are talking. I think Her Excellency has mentioned we are working towards it. I think the master plan of the Ministry of Tourism, which came before Tanfeed itself, has mentioned on this developing the region-wise development of the tourism side. And not only the infrastructure, even the people, to bring them on board, especially for the trekking, adventure tourism, and all sort of thing.
It's registered by the Ministry of Tourism.
Yeah.
So everyone can open his house for the tourists, but it should be registered under the umbrella of Ministry of Tourism.
Yes, definitely. Can I have can I say something?
Please.
Also, okay. As a French, mainly French incoming people, we definitely have a problem with Oman Air filling up the plane with people that don't stay in Oman and living from Paris and going everywhere in the world except in Oman. And I'm facing every month problem with groups that want to come to Oman, MICE industry, which is really my business mainly, and they cannot come. They cannot come. And I really would like to meet you to talk about that. I've been talking to Rania already in France, Ministry of Tourism, and I know it's not easy for you to increase exactly either the number of flight or the number of the
So you
size.
mean there is an issue of capacity? The capacity of Oman Air coming from France is taken by the transit people and not
Yes.
from the point-to-point?
That is a big problem, and I know they know about it, but there's something to be done, because the French people are people staying generally 8 days in Oman, not 2, 3, 4 days. They really come to visit, not like some of them staying for hotels, sun and beach, but most of them come to visit, and they go to all places. So this is something important for Oman Air to know and to try to do something for the future, especially for 2020. I'm working with the French pavilion in Dubai. I'm working with Auditoire, which is the official company incoming in Dubai, and they want to come. They want to make these people going to Dubai coming to Oman, but how? So this is one question for Oman Air. And then I have another point talking about visa. We need, I regret we don't have anybody from ROP. So I really feel sorry, because French people are facing a big problem with the visa. I don't agree at all with you, sir, that it's easy. For non-English speaking, it's very complicated. And we have bugs. We have people arriving and being scared to be rejected because it says, you don't get your visa upon arrival. So they don't know, they are calling me, can we come? We didn't get it. Some other people bought their tickets, bought their visa 35 days before coming. They arrive here, they have to buy another visa because their visa is expired 30 days later. And that's not normal. It wasn't like that 6 months ago. It's changed. Nobody told us. And now for the, that will be the last point, for the hotel industry. Hotels are changing, so everybody gets his little thing. But hotels are changing the price on last minute, on booking, on places like that. They don't tell the DMC. So our clients, when we give us price that we have with contract, the client says, but I don't understand, on booking it's cheaper than what you're offering us. And this is another problem. Communication between hotels and DMC are very important, and they need to be more focused on DMCs, because we are the one telling how all the things, the beautiful things about Oman, or the things they can do from camping. I do camping also for my clients and everything. I give them also data, because they come here and they don't have any, as you said, no information. But when they have data, then they can have more information. So this and the toilets also, as you were saying, the toilet in the petrol station, this is something that needs to be changed. Right. Thank you.
Okay, who want to start?
Okay, very quickly. I think, okay. The first thing was the constraint on the route between Muscat and Paris, or Paris and Muscat. We know there's a lot of constraint on the routes, and we know a lot of passengers from Paris fly to destinations beyond Muscat. We do, for us, from a business point of view, we would love to take everybody from Paris to Muscat, because we make more money, simple as that. But we can't just sort of shut the inventory down and wait for the non-stop passengers to come in. And even if we did, the number of passengers would not be enough to fill the flights on the point-to-point route. So yes, we do have a constraint on capacity on the route. We are looking at increasing the number of flights. Again, especially with Paris, it's, they're very, excuse the language, they are very protective of Air France. So if I wanted to increase flights in any other place, it would be easier, but with France it's a little bit more difficult. In terms of visas, I won't comment a lot on that. That is with the ROP. But from what I understand is that there is a partnership with, I think it's called VFS, and they should have local languages. If not already, it should be rolling out soon. So then the language barrier will be resolved. But again, this is something that the ROP and tourism.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the ROP reverted back on visa upon arrival.
Yeah, but
I'll
there's
talk about
confusion.
visas.
That's
There is
the
a
problem.
confusion.
There's
Yeah.
always confusion because it's never clear message and it's never consistent.
So the clear message is you get your visa online. But until the teething issues are resolved, they do provide the visa in the airport, but they don't communicate that.
Right.
So we're not supposed to communicate that. We communicate online.
So that was one of the things that came out of the Expo 2020 project as well, was we found in our studies that there was a lot of confusion with visa requirements, with this new e-visa thing. With any transition to from old system to a new system is going to have some, as he said, teething errors. So they are aware of that. The e-visa has been more accepted in the last few months. It has been more easily done. The good thing about the e-visa is they are getting approval within 4 hours on average by the ROP. Their SLA, their service level agreement, is 24 hours. So they are looking at that. That has been identified. It is a part of our project plan to identify what those gaps are in that communication and communicate that out to TripAdvisor, to the DMCs, and making sure that everybody understands what are the requirements and what happens. But they will allow visa on arrival until about 2022. So that way, that gives them a long period of transition to make sure that it fully functions. Because when they first launched it, it completely crashed. So they had to work through those kind of errors.
Right. About the coordination about DMCC, DMC, sorry.
Rate should be a node. There's no reason to change the rate overnight because for any reason. I mean, I'm only representing 7 hotels, but definitely it is a problem that if you have an issue with IAG, please let me know. I will fix it.
Thank you. Especially?
I'm sure she is
With
asking
IAG?
about the...
In Salalah, maybe? we try to open 1,600 hotels around the world, and it's out of 1,600, I would like to put a couple of hotels, and especially in Nizwa and Sur as well.
Maybe a last question?
My name is Naseem. I'm from NTT. My question is about, because I have been speaking in these types of events, but I think what we always have seen is that the most important department which we have never found in any of the convention is the public transport. Because public transport is the most important thing which a country should have. We have wonderful roads, the infrastructure is there, but we don't have the transport. Now, if you go to any part of the world, you have a public transport. Now, tell me, if I have to go from Muscat to Jabal Akhtar, I have to have my private car. I have to hire a car. I have to hire any. Is there any transportation from here to Jabal Akhtar? Is there any transportation from here to Misfat al-Abreen? Is there any transportation from here to any part of the desert? No, nothing. We are lacking, and I believe the most important thing is the transportation, and that department is never present in our convention or any other seminars. I have attended since the last 10 years, I have been attending, but I have never seen public transportation attending this one. This should be there, as long as I feel, because we don't, if we are focusing on a mass tourism, then we should first should build the transportation. Because a backpacker who wants to come to Oman, he doesn't want to hire a car, he wants to have a public transportation, whether it's a bus, it's a van, it's a car, it's a taxi, whatever it is. So then only you can talk about tourism, infrastructure, tourism development. Without that, I am sure we are not going to anywhere if we are targeting millions of tourists to come to Oman. I hope I'm right.
Thank you very much. Maybe Jamal?
Just very quick, I think we all know the public transport in Oman was relaunched a few years ago under the brand name Muwasalat. Now, Muwasalat is not just the buses, it's It's not just the taxis. They have a longer-term vision. Now, over the past, say, 5 years, I think public transport is moving forward. The Minister of Tourism, again, I keep going to Minister of Tourism, they identified that as a gap, I would say, in the tourism sector in Oman. It's being addressed. They're working with the Ministry of Transport. The long routes, Nizwa, Sur, again, there's already a bus service. The bus service will increase, but we are still in the first few years. Now, I've attended a few of these meetings, and that's why I sort of know a bit about it. But the public transport was only relaunched. Well, we say relaunched, but it was actually launched a few years ago. So, and they do have a vision. They have a 2020 vision. I can't remember how many buses they bought. They bought a few hundred buses. Under that umbrella, they have other, the Mowasalat umbrella, they have other visions for the capital, but I think those are going to take a little bit more longer time. So if you're referring to trains and so on, then I think we'll have to wait a bit longer for that.
Yes. Thank you very much. I would like to take the opportunity to thank, ladies and gentlemen, my panelists. Thank you. Please give a round of applause. And we'll have a buffet outside, so the discussion can continue later on. Thank you.
I would like to kindly request the panelists and the bloggers to come on the stage for the group photography.